Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends of the Playhouse and otherwise, let me welcome you to the 4th annual 8-Bit Podcast E3 Damage Report. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is the Mighty L Chaos. I'm glad to have each and every one of you here. With wasting no time at all, we have so much to do and so little time to do it in. I want to introduce you to my boys. My main man, who's usually on the Chaos Tonight show with me, Mr. Sean Riley. Sean Riley, say hi to the nice people.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Very good job, and of course, the main man around here, the guy who brings you the main event every single time, the excellence of elocution, the bullet belt messiah, Mr. Razor Fist.
Godspeed, bitches. I'm more than the bullet belt messiah. Come on, I'm the metal. No, Great Cat. Fuck you.
Fuck me. Anyway,
Metal Messiah. It's a good song.
I know that. I got the tape. That's how old I am. I got it on tape. With that fucked up makeup, you know what I'm talking about. And the man, the myth, the legend, the guy that you all came to see with the like 21.5-inch pythons, Alpha Omega Sin.
The fucking Alpha Omega Gun Show and the 4th annual. Woo! Woo! I'm gonna start elbow dropping my fucking hoodie. Woo! Right in the middle of the ring. Woo!
Very good, and welcome to each and every one of you to the 4th, that's right, 4th annual 8-Bit Podcast E3 Damage Report. We got a lot for you today. We got a big show. I'd like to say we have a king-size show, but time will tell. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, settle in, get yourself something to drink, some libations, some groceries. We're gonna have a great time for you. At least we hope so. So that's everybody. We're gonna kick it right off with E3 2015, supposedly the greatest E3 of all time! So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, starting off with Sunday, Day 0. We're gonna jump right into this because there's no other way to do it. There was a Smash Brothers DLC event, and everybody lost their minds. Of course, they lost their minds 2 days earlier about Roy and Ryu and new stages making their way onto Smash Brothers, and everyone was excited for all of 17 minutes. And then the complaints came rolling out, and was anybody else excited? And I know that I'm not a huge Smasher myself, but Mr. Riley, are you a big Smasher at all?
No.
No, that's good.
No.
That's good because there wasn't a whole lot to
No.
feature really there. But you know, it is what it is. I also want to remind everybody that we are watching the comments, and we'll be taking your questions shortly. So, and I understand that the comment section was ready to riot, so that's why we came on, and we're sorry we were late. But we're going to jump right into, I think, what really set the tone for the entire show and why everyone was so goddamn excited. The Nintendo World Championships 2015, arguably the best way to kick off this show, the greatest introduction that E3 has seen in quite some time. Was very exciting for me. I sat and watched the whole goddamn thing. Did anybody else? Alpha Mixon, you didn't watch it, did you?
I didn't get to catch the entire thing because I was asleep.
Yeah, I caught most of it. I thought it was some of the like custom levels and shit and challenges and whatnot were pretty cool. I don't know. It was cool for a video game tournament. It felt a little bit out of place at an E3, but you know that's mainly because we're all expecting announcements and shit. They did pepper a few in there.
They did. They snuck them in. They snuck in, you know, the amazing Metroid Prime Federation. What's it called?
Federation Force.
Federation Force.
Federation.
We'll talk about
All-State.
in a second. You know, all those folks over on Change.org. Not to be outdone, you know, but we'll be on with that in just a second. But yeah, all kinds of stuff. Realistically, and some people might argue with me, but the Nintendo World Championship, if you weren't aware, was really a really long-form advertisement for Splatoon and Super Mario Maker. But what an event to show these things off. I mean, I have never been so excited. I'm like, why don't I have this game? And then, you know, it was just absolutely insane. And Mrs. Yell Chaos was, you know, she's dying for that Super Mario Maker thing. She's absolutely
What we needed was we needed Fred Savage and we needed a Wizard 2, and they needed to go and announce like Super Mario 64 2, and just everybody's just like explosions. Fucking panties being thrown on stage, and just, oh man, you get fucking Peach and Daisy fucking scissoring in a crowd like this, crowd goes wild!
We need a kid with a mullet, and we need the camera to zoom in on him while he says, "I love Mario Maker. It's so bad." Like, that's exactly what we were lacking.
That's how you win an E3. Everybody's like, the Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's what you need. Nah, you need mullets, motherfucker. You bring mullets in, you bring the Wizard too. Bitches galore everywhere. Now that's how you do shit right there.
Oh,
Erections
we were
not cease.
We were chronically deficient in the mullet category this year. Goodness gracious. I feel like we were equally proportionately deficient in terms of the largesse of hipster glasses. It was directly and inversely proportional. I don't understand. What the fuck? Come on.
Well, the only thing
we can replace a few of those hipster glasses with mullets. I'm just saying. Just a little effort.
Be careful, because then you start seeing them combined together, and trailer parks and Starbucks suddenly just become synonymous with one another, and everybody gets confused and doesn't know what to do.
I say the only thing that really outweighed the hipster glasses was all the unexpected lisps this E3, but you know,
Yeah.
lisps notwithstanding, this was just a fantastic way to kick off this event, and I know it does seem a little bit out of place because this is usually something that's, well, it used to be. E3 is changing. E3 has to change. You have to change because the gaming public has changed drastically, and this was a great way to really make it all about fun.
Well, hold up. Before we transition, real quick, just for you three fellows, do you think that this will become a staple for Nintendo annually, that we will see them start off with the Nintendo World Championships every single year?
I would like to say that they would be smart to do it because it doesn't look like it costs very much. That's the beauty of this whole thing. It was like a 3-angle shot, and there was people that they invited some people to come out, and I'm sure all these YouTubers did it for free publicity. Even though they couldn't talk on a fucking stick if their life depended on it. But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, I think when you don't really have when you've moved away from having an actual press conference, it's a good way to retain the Nintendo presence at E3. It's a good way to keep the name out there, and you're also kind of making announcements, so it is a little bit of a press conference at the same time.
It is. And there's one thing that I think that's important about this is that the Nintendo World Championships every single year can incorporate different games. If they decided to just put in anything that they want, like anything, it doesn't matter, just so long as it's Nintendo, that's an easy way to generate interest to an entire world of people that might not know or give a fuck about something, and then suddenly have this boom, sudden interest in it just because they saw it there. Plus, it's an interactive experience because all the Best Buys were doing it. And I thought that aspect of it was kind of neat for those that couldn't actually be there in attendance.
Well, not only that, but there was also the instance of, and this was an interesting way. For instance, when it was introduced, it was Metroid Prime Federation Force, but they introduced the Blast Ball aspect, the multiplayer aspect, or I guess it's entirely multiplayer experience, but. It's interesting because instead of just showing you a movie, which is what a lot of people did this year, or just showing you a game and telling you you're going to like it, you got to see people with smiles on their face, excited to play this, and it immediately gets you thinking about, oh, well, I want to have a smile on my face, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I just think it was absolutely genius. But at the same time, it was very much a subliminal advertisement, and, someone might want to argue with me on that, but that's obviously what it was.
Well, everything at E3 is a subliminal advertisement. I mean, that's nothing new.
Well, subliminal, if you want to call it that, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I think to take something out of the book of The Simpsons, I believe it was superliminal, actually.
Well, it is definitely advertising. I mean, and like you guys said, everything there is advertising. At the very least, the minimum, it's something different than just a presentation of somebody up on stage playing something and with generic commentary that they obviously have fucking pre-scripted, or just old people trying to go and maintain your interest and focus while they present a fucking pre-rendered
What are you talking about? Old people trying to maintain their bladder most of the time. God damn, did you see that Square Enix press conference?
Hey,
For Christ's sake, I think one of those
they were
guys
trying to maintain a pulse
Nebuchadnezzar's
at the Square
bro.
Enix conference.
Okay, Razor Fist, I completely disagree. They were wearing suits, we never saw the back of them, they obviously had a fucking camel hump of a fucking bladder bag strapped to their fucking back, so obviously that there was some leakage, but we weren't going to see it. They were primed and ready to go.
I thought it was kind of odd that their tagline this year was the Colostomy Conference. That was odd. That was a strange choice.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I was just like, well, what's going on? Then everything fell into place. Made total sense.
But, you know, they use this event to really just kick the event off, and everyone with a goddamn smile on their face, and we crown the new champion. It's bullshit that he didn't get a championship belt. Not that the trophy wasn't a good-looking trophy, but that should have been a championship belt. You know it, I know it, Nintendo of America fucking knows it, and next year there better be a goddamn championship belt. And
Woo!
In fact, I got a bunch of shit on my Twitter. People like, yo, Chaos, why didn't you go to that? And I'm like, I was going to let my wife do it, but she had to work.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a trophy instead of a belt. What are you, WCW Hardcore Champion? What the fuck is this? This is bullshit.
If that were the case, it would be a ring. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. But they got that things off to a great start with big smiles on their face. And then goddamn Bethesda showed up, and there was a bunch of really dark and gritty shit, which is not a bad thing, but an interesting way, because there was no segue at all. We went right from, holy shit, Nintendo World Championships to fucking Doom.
Yeah.
Hey, Doom is awesome. Fuck you guys, it's Doom. We're in hell. Damn it.
Welcome to hell, you might say. Yes.
Okay, here. I'm assuming you guys were not impressed.
Well,
no, I was very impressed.
Let me make my point clear before you make your point clear. My point is that, unfortunately, the Doom name, which should mean something and should really stand, it should mean something like Hulk Hogan, you know, this big name that did a lot for a certain sector. I now see Doom as, and I don't want to upset the Doom fans, I don't think there's really any left, but Doom is now, just from what I've seen, is now drowning in a sea of mediocrity that it helped create. And that is going to be an uphill battle for this property.
I think what I saw from the game looks actually very different from a lot of first-person shooters that were shown this year.
No argument at all.
Well, can I say, this actually leads me to another topic. Like, I felt like this was the running theme of the entire night. Can I just say, in general, maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't, have first-person shooters ever looked any more boring than they did at E3 2015? Like, I'm no shooter guy. I've been perfectly upfront about that from the outset. But even if I were, I mean, fuck, even the helium-huffing audience didn't react to anything from the shooter market this year. Like, they showed Call of Duty at the Sony press conference, and everyone was just like, yeah.
Well, nice. Okay, to be fair, Call of Duty shouldn't ever get any kind of a reaction other than, oh, it's that time. You know, that's really it. It's to be expected, you know. It's like a changing of the seasons, or, you know, I just got done dropping a load. Time to wipe my ass. Of course that's going to be coming up. But, I mean, Doom doesn't happen all that often, and
like
Doom, you said,
see, Doom is the exact reverse. Doom got a great reaction. Doom actually got an awesome, and I think it should have, because I was actually, by and large, fairly impressed with what I saw. Again, I'm not much of a shooter guy, so I'm probably not going to get it. I didn't care for Doom 3, whatever. It's not my thing. It's just not my thing. But compared to all the other shit that we were seeing, I mean, it looked fairly interesting. You were chainsawing fucking demons the fucking half, and it just looked really badass.
By the way, I wish that they would have just mentioned once, just cut in the middle of it and be like, thank you, Brutal Doom.
Yeah.
And then continue the trailer, because it's definitely paying homage to the community that helped keep this fucking thing floating and continues to make it grow.
Yeah, it's a shame the fucking soundtrack doesn't pay homage to Brutal Doom.
God.
What the fuck?
Dude, that's something that it's bothered the shit out of me, because Doom 1, and everybody fucking knows this, has one of the most metal fucking soundtracks ever in gaming. And why can't we
it's an integral part of the sort of mythos of the series. You're going down to hell with a gun and a chainsaw, and you're murdering the fuck out of goddamn demons. I mean, what? It doesn't get more metal than that, ladies and gentlemen.
No, and you want to know what I liked about it was they had all the weapons looked familiar, all the enemies looked familiar, and Doom 3, I continue to defend that game, and I know there's a lot of people that just don't like it. I've always considered it its own thing, And for what it does, I think it does fairly well, especially for the time. Did it age well? Not so much, but it did well at the time.
Yeah.
Doom 4 goes back to basics. Big, sprawling, open areas. You have nothing but enemies just coming to go and gang rape the shit out of you, and you just have to go and thunder ammunition, rockets, plasma, anything right up their fucking ass. And that's what I wanted.
Speaking of Doom 3, I think people forget how fucking huge that game was.
Mhm.
Like, how many goddamn copies that game sold. It was like borderline Grand Theft Auto numbers. Like, it
Dude,
was an
that
insane...
That was the game that, when it came out, and it was strange because that came out pre, like, Xbox 360, but that was doing next-gen style stuff on last-gen type of hardware, and that was impressive. It was bringing, you know, it had tapped into what was big at the time, you know, the whole survival horror thing. They were trying to go away from, you know, we don't want this to just be like the past games. We want to try something different. And they succeeded. It's just that over the course of time, now we don't have anything like the original Doom games. Now it's nothing but shit kind of like, you had said that a lot of the first-person shooters weren't all that interesting. Two of those Tom Clancy games, I couldn't fucking tell apart from one another.
Yeah.
And that's what it
I couldn't tell any of them apart.
I feel like, no, agree with me or not, I felt like Ubisoft had the weakest conference of the night. I mean, we can talk about it a little more later, but I felt like Ubisoft kind of turned in the weakest
Yeah, it was terrible.
outing. It just felt like it was sort of there.
Well,
Well,
we'll
in
get
general.
to that. Plenty of time.
Well, just to go and fucking finalize all the shit with Doom, I was really impressed with the, I forgot the name of it, so everybody excuse me for that, but the Doom modding tools that they have that are going to be not only on PC, but they are going to be on console. And that is fucking huge.
They're kind of like, they're like soft modding tools. It reminded me of the Forge from Halo. Kind of. It was basically kind of, you're in the level, but you're editing at the same time. At least that's the way it seemed to me. But that is still really cool, and that seemed to be a running theme throughout the conference. You can make your own levels and shit and customize your own, you know, that seemed to be a popular feature.
If there's one thing that PC games had taught me while I was young and now a full-grown ass man, is that PC gaming thrives through the modding community, and the community essentially keeps games relevant. Doom is one of those games that thrived in the modding community, and if you look, it's amazing. Like, fucking amazing. If people are like, man, Skyrim and all that shit, that stuff's impressive. Grand Theft Auto, that's impressive, but Doom was doing that shit for fucking decades. And that's what's cool, and now we're gonna see it on console, cross-platform, no less. And that's fucking badass. Your own modes, your own stages, that's badass shit right there.
I still feel like it really says something about the Bethesda conference, who, by the way, hands down, I think Bethesda had the best conference of the entire event, personally.
Oh boy, are we going to have an argument.
I know, hands down, Bethesda, because they announced Doom almost to open the damn thing off, and then they still managed to top themselves with the Fallout 4 trailer.
Well, yeah,
and with the Fallout 4 gameplay, which Fallout 4 looks fucking incredible. Dialogue wheel and all, unfortunately. But that's pretty goddamn retarded, but I do think the game looks really damn good. Dishonored 2, fuck it, who cares? It looks like Dishonored 1.
I'll be honest, dude, I know, actually, how do you feel about Dishonored 1? In general?
I think it's fun. It just disappointed me because it was marketed as kind of a spiritual successor to Thief, and it really turned out to be more of a spiritual successor to BioShock. You know, it's a fun game for what it is. If you like BioShock, it's great. But it doesn't stack up against Thief. It's not really I guess it's less about stealth than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, I played through it. I've only completed the game once. But I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was a stealth game with superpowers, basically. So I'm just running around doing tons of crazy shit, and I kept on wondering why aren't more people talking about it. And I was happy to see, and kind of surprised, to be honest, that they were
I didn't know if it was going to get... I think a lot of people didn't know if Dishonored was going to get a sequel. Because it did okay, but it didn't, like, set the world on fire.
No.
And and a lot of people criticized some of the gameplay and art style and shit. So it wasn't like it was this resounding creative and financial success. But I'm glad to see Bethesda in their publishing division are not as rigid and asshole-ish as so many other publishers in that they're like, oh, it doesn't sell 9 quintillion copies? Well, then fuck it.
Yeah, that's a running theme with a lot of publishers. For anybody that's listening right now, if there's ever a thing that gets my fucking goat and pisses me off is that when a publisher will oversee a developer and go and spend exorbitant amounts of money foolishly, and then the game does not make 5 times that amount because they don't have their fucking finances in order, and they consider something that sells $6 million to be a flop. No, you fucked up. Yeah. You know, ECW chance aside, they fucked it up.
You have to hand it to Sony. You have to hand it to like Sony on this at least. When their first-party games, like Bloodborne recently, which was kind of shopped as the first big killer app, I don't know why. It's more of a niche game. When it came out and it sold something like almost 1.5 million units, which is okay, but it's not like normally to break even you have to hit 2 million units or something. Between 2 and 3 million is what I've heard for most AAA releases anyways. Obviously it depends on budget. But Sony were like, fuck, like we made more than we expected to. Like fucking...
If you look at where it all started, it started with Demon's Souls.
Yeah.
You know, and Demon's Souls was a surprise hit, like a sleeper hit, truthfully. Yeah. I mean, most people go and try to attribute it to the original Dark Souls, but I always say, no, everybody forgets about Demon's Souls. I'm like, were you motherfuckers awake? You know, that shit came out. Thank Atlas, by the way, everybody. If you're fucking riding the dick of Dark Souls all the time, you can fucking thank Atlas, because if it wasn't for him, that shit wouldn't have come out. Nobody else was trying to back that pony. Yeah. So now we have that come out, and I'm glad, you know. Games don't need to sell 50 fucking million like Call of Duty for you to get a proper fucking sequel. It's ridiculous.
Well, and not to mention you forget to factor in they cost far more than they really need to. But
way fucking more.
Yeah.
When goddamn EA is shoveling 200 fucking, or what was it? The rumor is it might be between 300 and 500 million at the Knights of the Old Republic, which, oh. Where did it go free to play in like 8 months? Yeah, budgets are out of control.
Yeah, that's like federal deficit numbers. That's insane.
Yeah.
But after all of that, after you Doom and after you're Dishonored, Bethesda decides to follow the whole thing with the announcement of a fucking beta, and I don't remember the name off the top of my head. Mr. Riley, which game was that? Do you remember?
Let me check. I don't remember. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was.
As you can see, we're a very prepared podcast.
Yep.
It was like ninja fucking. I don't know. It didn't really grab anyone. I remember it's pretty much the poor damn. I'm sure it's great, but the poor damn thing was sandwiched between Doom, Dishonored, and fucking Fallout 4.
It was Battle Cry.
Battle Cry. Thank you very much. Battle Cry. That was the one.
That's actually something to remember, and is kind of overlooked by a lot of people, is the timing of an announcement during a press conference is very fucking vital. Because if you announce like some amazing ass games and then your follow-up is something no one gives a shit about, no one was going to give a shit all that much, but now the amount of shits that they give is somewhere in the negative. Some alternate fucking dimension, and even then you aren't going to be fucking fishing any of them out.
Yeah, as soon as Todd Howard walks out on stage and with his fucking wall eyes and tells everyone sweet little lies, nobody's gonna give a fuck. There's no way.
and then after that, unfortunately, Battle Cry dies a slow, wilting death, and then we are brought with Fallout 4, which Fallout 4. It looks like, you know, I want to say this. I was talking about this with my wife, and I want to bring this up. Who's hurting Buffalo?
I don't know. It's coming from Sean.
Sean, are you hurting Buffalo during the show?
Maybe.
He looked confused. He was like, "Where the fuck are these buffalo?"
If you didn't know, Sean lives on the Hate Bit Ranch. And sometimes buffalo come through there. Yeah. But that's all right. We need someone to take care of those sorts of things. But after that, Fallout 4 looks like a very, very charming game. You know, the dialogue side, regardless of how you feel about it, some of the exchanges and all of that was very charming. But then you get into the combat, which is exactly like Fallout 3, which is exactly like Fallout 2, which is exactly like Fallout 1. And but I have to, in the interest of complete disclosure, Mrs. Yell Chaos has not stopped playing Fallout Shelter on the iPad since Sunday. Has not stopped. I mean, she's even playing it at work, so we might be poor soon. But has not stopped. I mean, while she's cooking the meal, while we're eating dinner. So, I mean, that was something. They gave that away free on the App Store. So if you got yourself an iOS device, your iPhone or your iPad, check out Fallout Shelter, absolutely free. And that was one of the good things that I think came out of Fallout 4 announcement.
I want them to just be fucking nice enough to people like me. I have a goddamn fucking Android phone, so they need to hook me up and millions of other people. Huh?
Well, not only that, but they say it's coming to Android, and I would like to believe that, but only time will tell. And
I got the Pip-Boy edition. Oh, and that's something. That fucking. Oh
Don't
my
forget
God.
the Pip. Yeah, tell the people. Tell the people about the Pip-Boy edition.
Okay, the Pip-Boy edition is awesome. I don't give a fuck what anybody says or how useless it is or how much dust it'll collect. Don't give a fuck, because ever since I first started playing Fallout on fucking PC at a friend's house, no less, I thought, wow, this game's so fucking cool. Seeing Pip-Boys and shit, that just seems neat. Right there on your fucking arm, right? I want to strap this fucking bitch right there and do that. That'd be fantastic, right? Well, they announced a limited edition that has a Pip-Boy that's compatible with it, and it works all together, and that's cool. Normally, I don't care about anything mobile at all, unless it's emulation, because, that's how you properly mobile game. But whenever I'd seen it, I was like, that's cool as fuck. And it ended up turning into a very limited edition and sold out the same fucking day it was announced. That blows. I hope that they end up making more so nobody gets left out in the cold, because that shit was getting flipped on eBay within hours. And that's... God, that fucking burns my ass.
Are we gonna see at the Too Many Games with your initial smartwatch, the Pip-Boy going on? Is that what you?
Dude, I want to. I don't know, because I've got the Note 4, and this thing's a fucking beast. It's big as shit. Like, look, compared to my fucking forearm, it's basically like a fucking. Hold up. There goes an Xbox, and there goes the fucking phone. Okay, that's the proof of fucking point right there. Shit's ridiculous. But yeah, I can't wait for that. Mr. Fister, how do you feel about Fallout 4?
I was, as soon as I heard Collector's Edition, I was like, oh, fuck this. but then they were like, and now here's this fucking computer you can strap to your forearm. And I was like, well, fuck, there goes my cynicism. I actually thought that looked pretty cool. I reacted to it on a friend of mine's live stream, but it was really fucking. I thought it was badass. I don't know what kind of utility the damn thing is gonna have, but you're gonna get to have a Pip-Boy with an actual working fucking screen.
So you get to walk around with a big arm like Cowboy Bob Orton all the time and hit people with it.
Yeah, you could have big Popeye forearms. Just fucking go for it. Just choke down your fucking spinach and go for it.
Be the perfect device for contracting cancer of the forearm, I tell you. And after all of that, with Doom and Dishonored 2 and a beta, which is obviously them filling time, and Fallout 4, after that came The Bribe. After that, and this is something that did not need to be part of the conference, but they decided to tell the entire goddamn internet that everybody gets these fucking these figures, and it's like, wow, we're just absolutely bribing people to forget all of this stuff that didn't even need a conference. And that's when I wonder, this was Bethesda's first time out, and I wonder, did they really need a conference this time out? And I thought, I'm going to bring this up on the 8-Bit podcast. That sounds important. And then I saw
I totally felt at the time. I actually agree. I think Bethesda had... I mean, it's great that Bethesda has a conference, but at the end of the day, they announced 4 games. And two of them we already knew existed. So, no, I don't think they necessarily needed a conference. Or at the very least, not one that goddamn long. It felt like there was a lot of padding. But fortunately, a lot of that padding came in the form of gameplay, which is more than a lot of the other conferences and so forth can say. So I like that. That kind of set the tone. As a result, I think we saw more gameplay at this year's E3 certainly than we have in recent years. Last year was like pre-rendered trailers, the E3 conference. Like that's what fucking E3 2014 was. But this year we got a lot of gameplay, and I think Bethesda kind of set the stage for that. So,
well, I think they knew because they tried to bullshit they'd be found out like everybody got found out last year. The shit was running on PC.
Yeah.
So.
I predicted before this year's E3 that third parties would steal the show. I definitely feel like third parties stole the show. Even the biggest announcements at the first-party conferences seem to be third-party, with the exception of Nintendo and Star Fox, but we already knew that was coming out.
Sure.
So
we knew that last year.
It felt like third parties ruled the day here, and the first parties took credit for it.
You know what? I have to say that I do feel like Bethesda needed to have that E3 conference. The reason why is just because of the stuff that we had discussed earlier. Bethesda's a big enough company and it's becoming bigger, thankfully and deservingly. But they had two heavy hitters that are household names, even outside of gaming now. And when you take that into account, E3, whether anybody likes it or not, is the biggest conference that you can have in the entire world once a year. And it's an easy way to go and get that shit out there in front of millions of people and put it front and center. Even if all of us, we all know about that shit. That's all fine and good. There's lots of people that don't. And that gets it out there. It's advertising. And you know what? It's fucking effective. It works. And it's shit that I like and I want to see. So I'm fucking happy. And it's better than seeing a bunch of motherfuckers go and act out Wii music. Because I swear to fucking Christ, I did not want to see any more of that. When they're all, I'm like, ugh, just fucking come over with a haymaker and fucking take them out. But yeah, I think they deserve this shit. I wish some other
It's not like they were showing off Rock Band or anything, you know.
No, but there's other companies, I'll be honest, I wish actually got to have their own conferences, and they don't. And that's unfortunate, but Bethesda, they totally earned it, I think.
No, totally. Like I said, I think they had the best one of the event, but I think it was the best because they had to pad it out with a lot of gameplay, which is uncharacteristic for E3. I thought they were really strong from beginning to end. Really, the only lull for me came, with Dishonored and the game whose name you just told me and I already fucking forgot.
I'm pretty sure that
Fortress Ninjas, whatever the fuck it was.
Battle
People at the conference forgot the fucking name of it more than likely. They were like, fuck's
sake, it's called Battle Cry. So it's, fuck's sake, it's named after a Judas Priest song and I still can't remember it. But anyways.
Well, because that song's named after every goddamn book featuring Indians in history. So you can't fault him for that. But anyway, Bethesda said
I thought that was Red Dawn. I thought that was sorry.
Is that one with the Chinese or the Russian? Never mind. But Bethesda sent everyone home moderately happy, even though they had to bribe them at the end of the show to forget all that mundane shit in the middle. And Xbox. Mr. Riley, he woke me up first thing in the morning. He's like, "You watching this shit?" And I'm like, "Hold on a second." I got my coffee, and I went and I watched the Xbox thing. And the Xbox thing, now this was going to be the be-all, end-all. This is the Xbox One's last fucking stand. We're bringing first party. We're going to bring this shit, and we're going to show you why this isn't just a VCR lookalike. This is really a thing that you're going to want to buy. And what did they tell us? Buy a Ford GT. They lowered it from the fucking ceiling like hell in a cell. Buy a Ford GT, and then they showed us a commercial for Forza, which looks exactly like the Forza we've already had.
Yeah.
And then now don't forget. Now they were going to tell us they got all this first party coming. They got a whole bunch of cool things coming. And then what did they have for us? Backwards compatibility, but not really backwards compatibility. kayfabe backwards compatibility. Which
Yeah, Xbox. They've like is it like the Xbox 360? You download a little patch and now you can play the game backwards compatibility.
No, this is what I like to call selective updating. Someone sent me the list, asked me what I want to know. The list had 11 fucking games on it. I have more games under my coffee table than Xbox supports on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
That's fucking
still
ridiculous.
Still more than the number of fucking PS3 games you can buy on PS4.
Oh!
Sadly. Well, it's true. I wish they would update more titles because I would buy them, but unfortunately.
The thing that I thought kind of sucked about it was I'm glad about the announcement, and I'm glad that they did reach out and say that they were going to make it so that if for any of the developers and publishers out there, all they have to do is kind of send in a form. That's it. Send in a form, bam, you get your shit done. Because a lot of times you have no fucking idea. Most people don't ever think about it, but there is a lot of hurdles to go through to get your shit on a platform, and especially a brand new platform. And this made a lot of an easier process. It's something that fans want to see, but it sucks that you have to download the games. So that's more hard drive space. Granted, you can get an external, or you can get a fucking brand new one installed that's bigger. But the thing is, I already will have tons of terabytes worth of games already installed on there, and I already know delete shit. Well, fuck off. I don't want to have to re-download the shit, but it's an inconvenience. But at least it's happening.
Well, one of the like commonalities between the PS4 and Xbox One I've noticed is they both they both heavily feature the USB drive. So if you got a big ass flash drive or something, I'm sure you can download the fucking game to that or something. But
yeah, you can easily get like a 64 gigabyte flash drive right now for like $25-30, and that's not shit. And I'm talking like the teeny tiny ones that are microscopic and don't take up any room. You won't fucking notice them. And that's not including externals. You can get like a 3 terabyte external for what, 120, 150, some shit like that. Yeah. And that's awesome. It just, for anybody that's got like a completely shit internet connection, which I know a lot of people with that, and if you live in the good old United States, lots of people have bad internet. AOL is still an internet provider. That should fucking tell you something, that we're not exactly all completely within the times, and if you're in the boonies, you're like, internet, I hardly know her. So, you know, whatever. But we're still getting backwards compatibility. I'm glad. It's going to take time, because they did say that they planned on rolling out with 100 games within the first year, and then they were going to have hundreds thereafter. Just hoping I see, like, you know, Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon.
Yeah. All I'm hoping is they don't just fucking drop it like they did 360 backwards compatibility after a certain point. There's so many fucking games that were on original Xbox that are still not supported on 360 for no goddamn reason. And games that have the same engine, like Thief: Deadly Shadows is backwards compatible. Deus Ex Invisible War, which has the exact same goddamn engine and was released 1 year before, not backwards compatible. What the fuck? Like, same...
My real objection here is this is coming from Microsoft. I can play Police Quest. It's in the closet. I can play Police Quest from Windows 3.1 on Windows 7 tonight.
Yeah.
But I gotta jump through hoops of fire just to play Brutal Legend on the Xbox One? That's fucking ridiculous.
Okay. To start off, anybody, like, just the opening of the fucking Microsoft press conference, anyone else weirded out by that stage setup? It was like they put a big Xbox logo in front of the fucking spaceship from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think it actually did a flyby and burned Richard Dreyfuss's face. What the fuck? Like they just put a big goddamn... I felt like I was watching Robot Wars or something. Or it was weird. But and then they brought some. They're like, they open up their conference and they're like, and now some chick you've never heard of. And then she was like the unofficial spokesman for the opening of Xbox One. It's like, what the fuck? I don't understand.
Well, not to mention all these platforms. Like, what do you guys think you're Metallica or something? There's a guy standing on the logo.
Yeah, it did. It kind of felt like a Nickelback stage setup or something.
Or like Kiss or something.
Yeah, I was expecting flash pots to start going off.
And blow up dolls, you know, and that whole sort of thing. But and then rolling right along with they're gonna bring new games. with some of the biggest balls, the kind you have to carry in a wheelbarrow. Phil Spencer stands there and tells me, and now we're releasing a bunch of old Nintendo games. And they were expecting a pop, but I think a whole bunch of people said, and then you felt the room just deplete of air.
Yeah, are you talking about the Rare replay?
I'm talking. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Fucking.
Dude, I'm excited about that.
What's that?
I'm excited about that.
You're excited, but that's not what I mean. This was supposed to be all this brand new stuff that's gonna redefine the Xbox One, and now here's a bunch of shit that came out on Nintendo consoles 20 fucking years ago.
Well, there's one important thing to look at this from that's actually separate from just nostalgia's sake. And that's right now, we already know that all the people that were important and Rare went off to go and make Playtonic Studios. Mm-hmm. So right now, current Rare is like a mishmash of new people, but they still have the Rare name, they have the Rare IPs. This right here actually works as a good segue to try to get people reestablished with the fact that Rare does more than just make clothing for avatars on Xbox 360. You know, it's like, here's a reminder, and keep in mind that they have things on there from the Amiga, from ColecoVision, from PC, from Nintendo 64, from Super Nintendo, from Arcade. These are all things that have never graced Xbox consoles. Some of them never even graced consoles to begin with. Yep. And it's a good history lesson as well. It's one of those things that I know that lots of people write it off as, that's just a garbage collection, it's a cheap cash-in, it's this, it's that. It's fucking important, though. It's important to gaming.
I'm not going to argue that, but it was not the new games that we were promised. It was, it was a bunch of...
Yeah, but you got to know, the moment you hear the name Rare... at an E3, unless you're looking backward, you're talking about something that sucks. Because Rare hasn't released anything even borderline playable in years.
So right? You think this was a way to save face for Rare, who they're probably going to put a lot of eggs in that basket in the coming years?
Yeah, I have a feeling they're gearing up to make something really big. Actually, I don't have a feeling. We've heard that Rare are working on something really big.
They at the very least, we got one good thing from them post... legendary Rare status Rare, and that's the new Killer Instinct is pretty fucking badass.
Yeah. The new Killer Instinct has done pretty well for people. I don't know. The DLC shit, I'm never gonna get past that. That is fucking ridiculous.
Oh no, I mean, aside from the tried and true, let's fuck them good with money cocks.
I'll say, okay, on the subject of the Microsoft press conference, I'll say this in Microsoft's defense, and actually this applies to Nintendo just as much. A fuck of a lot more of the games that Microsoft and Nintendo showed this year are actually launching this fucking year.
Yeah.
Sony was like, the thing that happened that nobody wants to talk about is they moved the goalpost from fucking holiday 2015 to holiday 2016. And all their shit is coming out in 2016. And that goes for the third parties as well. Square Enix, a lot of their shit, 2016, right across the board. Deus Ex, Mankind Divided. I figured when we were watching gameplay at E3, it was going to launch this year. No, Deus Ex 4 is coming out next fucking year sometime.
Well, that can actually go and make you ask the question of whether or not was this generation rushed at all, even by a year. It's over 300 days, but can make all the difference within a development cycle. Hell, a couple months can. But if that is the case, it sucks that you get the droughts. Me personally, I've got more games I know what to fucking do with, so I've always got a back catalog, and I've never mind waiting. But from a business standpoint, which is the mindset everybody has to get in, you don't want everybody to be playing their old games or the games that they bought several weeks or even months ago.
Well, especially when you break it out, they've had some successes on PS4, but you're talking like 3 million sellers high watermark, right? 3-point-something million. I'm not even sure if they've had a game that's hit 4 million. I think maybe one game did, but like even the big games that they hyped, like Watch Dogs or fucking Bloodborne or whatever, haven't come anywhere close to the 5 million mark or something like that. Much less the stratospheric numbers that real hits from last generation, like Grand Theft Auto 5 with what the fuck did it wind up selling? 15 million or something? Assassin's Creed 3 or Skyrim with 12 million. I mean, that's outlandish. But that's what a real big hit looks like. That's what a killer app looks like when it starts moving consoles. It's really weird. PS4 and Xbox One, for that matter. Xbox One is at what, like 12, 13 million units sold, something like that, and PS4 is at 20 million. Both really respectable numbers for a new console, and yet the games, between 3 and 4 million, so that's not really. They still haven't had their killer app.
Yeah.
So it's really it's a very, very odd situation. So they're kind of going 3 years without the killer app, it's going to be really interesting to see how that works out, because every time that's happened in the past, it's killed the console. I don't know if that's going to happen in the case of PS4, because they kind of have a case of only game in town syndrome going on right now. But I don't know. It could go either way.
I mean, the thing is with PlayStation 4, I've continuously kept myself busy with it, but in terms of the big time setting the standard for that generation type game, like you had talked about, no, we haven't actually seen that. We haven't come across that yet. Yeah. There's lots of shit on the horizon. That's the important thing, and that's the thing is everybody's looking towards what's going to come, but what's important is what the fuck's going on right now. What's going on tomorrow, next week, the month after, and it's not a whole hell of a lot. But that's why you go and do shit like me. You get everything. And then you got all these options. Fucking the Steam summer sale. Just take all my money. It's cool. I don't need money apparently. Steam. God.
Not just Steam. Fucking goodoldgames.com is doing their summer sale as well. Fucking everyone's doing their summer sales.
Fucking Humble Bundle too. God, they're just
Humble Bundle's killing it.
They're like, please, Humble Bundle, man. That's something else. They did their, if I'm not mistaken, the very first thing ever with consoles and handhelds with Nintendo, and I thought that was really neat because you don't see shit like that happen like at all.
That was super cool. I'm gonna gush about that eventually.
But the, I just want to see this.
All in all, what do we think of the Microsoft press conference?
Well, there's more, because there were good things that happened. No doubt about that.
What about Gears of War 4?
That's not what I meant, but all right.
Okay, I'll be completely honest. I only played the first Gears of War. Oh no, I'm sorry. I played Gears of War 1 and 2. I didn't play 3. Everybody can fucking shoot me in the comments later or something. But I wasn't ever as big into it as a lot of people I knew personally. But 4, from what they were showing, and I was actually comparing it, it kind of reminded me of Uncharted. Just with like some of the shit that they had going on, it was more going for set pieces and going for a cinematic vibe. That's what it reminded me of, and it had like a horror theme to it, at least the section that they showed off. I thought it looked cool. I don't know. I liked it.
Well, for me,
so it's got a horror theme now. So it's Order 1886 is what it...
I'm assuming it's going to be more than 5 hours. It'll be more than 5 hours long. Come on, jeez.
It'd be 6 hours long. Something that really stuck, and this goes to show, like Razorfist was talking about, how it seemed like the first parties seemed to take a lot of credit for what the third parties were doing. The Rise of the Tomb Raider, which had pretty interesting showing. Not much in the way of gameplay from what I could tell. It's so hard. There's some things that are so obviously just all cinematics, and it looks quite interesting, but again, not terribly different from the last Tomb Raider. So that's where you're walking on a slippery slope. And there was lots of ice, so that pun works out just then. And then one that was actually interesting, and that no one played up on this, a rare game, Sea of Thieves. Which is a multiplayer pirate game, which I never thought I'd care about a pirate.
We never get to see pirate games at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was talking about when I did my review for Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, where it was like, this feels like a great game that shouldn't be called Assassin's Creed. I feel like somebody's going to come along with a pirate game that's really going to work. Like that, like they're gonna take the ideas that Ubisoft have here, and they're gonna make them actually like work properly. And sure enough, here comes a pirate game. I figured that was on the horizon as soon as Assassin's Creed 4 happened. But this should be interesting. It did look interesting, you know. It's nice to have an actual new IP at the conference. But that was a running theme. The sequels, and you kind of expect this, the sequels and the prequels and the fucking reboots and all that bullshit, and the remakes were far more prominently featured than the new IPs. Like, what did Sea of Thieves get, like, in terms of actual minutes?
Oh, I think Sea of Thieves got something like 160 seconds.
Yeah, it was really brief, and it was immediately after. It was sandwiched between Halo and was it Gears of War? I forget what it was sandwiched between, but it wasn't.
I think it was right before Tomb Raider, so it was fucked from the beginning.
Yeah, it was right before Tomb Raider. So, so you're sandwiched with these huge franchises. Again, it's just not a very prominent placement.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And that's the thing, just like we mentioned before, is depending on when you show a game off and how much time you're actually going to devote to the fucking thing can make or break it. And that sucks. And it you know, that's the people that need to really, really, really pay attention to that stuff and give it its just dues. You know, I don't want to see games like that get thrown to the back because a fucking multiplayer pirate game is different. We don't have that shit all the time. It's not Upteam's fucking million modern first-person shooter. You know,
yeah.
Thank fuck.
And that, by the way, the fact that Rare's making it, that's the reason why you do the Rare collection. That's the reason why you make that announcement.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just, you know, they spent valuable E3 time to tell you about something that really should have been like an email update or a Facebook special.
Well, you guys gotta at least admit right now, but Microsoft's conference, and it made me so fucking happy. We weren't talking about it. We weren't talking about TV over and over again, and sports and Doritos, Mountain Dew, the fucking water cooler.
Top 10.
Yeah. I mean, Xbox One has all these multimedia features, which I understand you have to distinguish yourself, and the PS4 is really sparse on multimedia features. Like, I get that's the way you distinguish your brand, but people already know about that shit. So why not talk about games? And I feel like for the first 2 years they were struggling against that compulsion, and this year they finally steered into the video game skin. What in the fuck?
Sean came back on, and then it sounded like aliens were invaded.
Maybe he's an alien.
Maybe. Possibly.
I didn't think I should. I gotta start checking references because we got aliens.
Well, no,
so.
It's that Close Encounters of the Third Kind spaceship. That's what it was.
Well, you know what? That makes sense. If he's taking care of the buffalo and shit, there's probably crop circles somewhere out there. So you better fucking be careful and heed my words, damn it.
I had to go take care of the horses.
Now there's horses.
And an R-wing did, and then there was just.
What are you gonna do?
How is Sarah Jessica Parker doing these days?
She's amazing.
I'd ride that horse.
Well.
I'd ride that horse if it was in fucking Hocus Pocus. I'd ride the fuck out of that horse. God damn. I wouldn't be able to stop. That shit would be... my girlfriend's gonna beat me up, by the way.
Like a fucking broomstick. I don't, and of all that went on at the Xbox press conference, I don't want to have to nip at every little thing, but I have to share this with Phil Spencer and all those folks that are running things. It is impossible to be exclusive to more than one platform at the same time.
Yeah.
You cannot be exclusive to the Xbox One and Windows at the same time. That is not an exclusive.
Yeah, and you know what? He was not alone in that. I remember when the Final Fantasy VII announcement happened at the Sony conference. He was like, and we're proud to announce it's PS4 exclusive for 5 minutes. Like, he tried to hold on to the PS4 exclusive so that people would be cheering by the time he got to the second part.
No, he does one of these. He's like, and it's PlayStation 4 exclusive. Isn't that wonderful? And everybody's like, wait, what did you just say?
What was that?
Have a good E3.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Every mob follows after, and he's like, no! For fuck's sake, leave me alone. But you know what? And that's something that I've got quite a few friends that they do nothing but PC game. That's all the fuck that they have. They don't give a shit whatsoever about consoles because they're like, meh, if I need it, I'll borrow it off you. And I'm like, good point. So they ended up saying, they were like, dude, so what the fuck? And this was a conversation I had. What does Microsoft have that's exclusive to just Xbox One? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, all their games are on PC too.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to answer. So it's like,
yeah, that's the problem.
Fuck.
That's always been an Xbox issue, though, and this goes back to the original Xbox, because they were a PC gaming company to start with.
Yeah.
So they've never quite wanted to abandon their PC fan base, and it's almost like they're caught between a rock and a hard place, because if they make it just Xbox 360 exclusive, which has happened very rarely, then they're kind of lifting the finger at their longtime PC fans, of which I am one of them. I mean, I love fucking Starlancer and Freelancer and Mech Warrior and all the great fucking PC. I think they're a much better PC developer than a console developer. So it's kind of they're stuck in a shitty place. You know, Sony don't have any obligations to the PC market. And the shitty part about it is PC fans don't give them credit for that. They just bash them for not having console exclusives.
Well,
It's utter bullshit.
There's one thing
Gamers
that
are benefiting.
we actually didn't get to talk about. As a matter of fact, I don't see people talking about it a lot, and I think this is really, really good. With Windows 10, especially anybody who's been in the beta using the new operating system, which is fantastic, by the way, especially because it's what Windows 8 should have been. But they're trying to make it so that Windows 10, it's gonna work on your phones, it's gonna work on your tablets, it's gonna work on your Xbox One, it's gonna work on everything. And
I felt like you were building up to a Howard Dean yell there. It's gonna work on your tablet. It's gonna work on your phones. We're gonna go to Minnesota. Wah!
Eventually, it's gonna work on it's gonna work on our refrigerators, and it's gonna work on our washers and dryers.
It works on your refrigerator.
But the idea that they're going to be doing stuff like that makes me happy, because one of the things that's always been a long-standing problem with a lot of the consoles is the UI and how it ran. If you're going to integrate Windows 10 features into it, now all of a sudden the things popping up on PC, you have PC gamers on Windows 10 and Xbox One players, eventually they'll be able to start playing against each other. We haven't seen shit like that, and that's amazing. And that's
down to Microsoft's experience with. They're the most experienced of the three big companies in terms of doing online gaming. They were doing MSN Gaming Zone in the mid-90s. I mean, they've been doing this for fucking years.
God damn, dude, that threw me back. I even imagined the MSN logo, the little fucking butterfly and shit, and I was just like, oh.
I loved some MSN Gaming Zone. I did.
Dude, I still fucking remember trying to tell somebody, but you see, I created this on a Hotmail account years ago. That shit doesn't exist. And they're like, what the fuck's Hotmail? And I was like, exactly.
Yeah, it was right around the time I made my Angel Fire page.
Hey, I did. I fucking did. And I made numerous websites on Angel Fire.
Fuck your Angel Fire. GeoCities rules, son.
No, but GeoCities is actually where I made better websites, because you didn't have to learn all the coding and shit. It was lots of drag and drop. That shit was Dreamweaver before Dreamweaver, and I was like, boom! definitely
Lycos Master Race.
Holy shit! Oh my god! Now I want to bring back all my fucking fan sites where I was like, yeah, but look at these animated GIFs. Boom! You bitches don't know about site design. So GIFs.
You had like the cheesy like MIDI music playing in the background of like a Linkin Park song or something.
No. I have actual taste. I have taste. Yeah. Even back then, I realized that they were fucking puckered butthole soup. So now I'm just like, Lincoln Log. People listen to that? Jesus fuck my Christ, that's embarrassing. and in the comments, but I listen to Linkin Park. Well, fucking stop.
Yeah.
God.
I wouldn't say that out loud.
Wait. I've just been notified via Twitter that MSN Game Zone is still alive and well.
Is it? I had no idea.
I didn't know that. Wait, hold on.
Hold on.
Amazon Game Zone is still alive.
I think we need to reacquaint ourselves with the concept alive and well.
So does it hang
there's
out in
two
a sort of
parts to it.
retirement home
Okay,
as
I'm
AOL?
sorry. Alive and terminal. Anyway.
All those IVs hooked up at once looks like a fucking marionette. It's amazing.
Yeah, just because you haven't passed away doesn't mean you're living. But the one thing that we have to bring this out, and I want to get this in before I forget, is that that HoloLens thing looks really fucking expensive, don't it?
Yeah.
Dude, that
think?
shit looked cool as fuck, though.
Yeah, it did.
Look,
Yeah, it
out
did.
of anything out there, I was gushing about that because like a while ago, because I knew that this could be used for something a lot more than just gaming. But when you in that bitch with Minecraft, whether you like or hate Minecraft, it's fucking virtual Legos.
Yep.
Goddamn, just
Essentially.
everything.
Yeah,
By the
I
way,
don't know, though.
Lego.
Here's
Lego.
the thing, I do think it looks cool, but I'm skeptical because
Because
We
you
all
don't
thought
own a $10,000 camera setup?
we all were talking about the technological possibilities of Kinect, and that wasn't just hype. Kinect was actually an impressive piece of technology. It was a fucking infrared camera. It could actually do things a normal camera couldn't do, and there were applications that theoretically could have happened. All of which were explored at the first E3 showing for the Kinect, but in subsequent years it degenerated into waggle and running in place. Right? That's what the fucking Kinect is. So tempered enthusiasm. It looks cool, but until they do something fucking cool with it, calm the
So
fuck down.
long as they... Okay, one of the things that damned the Kinect, as we all know, is they started pushing it into the Xbox 360 bundles and you didn't have a fucking option. It was in there. That bitch was in there. So you were like, well, I don't want... Like, when Xbox One came out, how many motherfuckers lined up unanimously chanting at the same time, we don't fucking want the Kinect, take it the fuck out. If we want it, we'll go buy it. And even
And
whatever...
it was also kind of... It was a backward-looking move, because, okay, the next gen has arrived with a piece of last-gen technology attached. Like, okay, way to set the tone, asshole.
But
Yeah, your Microsoft Xbox 360 now comes with a PlayStation Eye.
I think that it's all up to first and third party, again, just like with any piece of hardware out there, to make practical use of this and to just put it out there for everybody to see. No matter what, you cannot escape this, you know what the fuck it does, and they need to keep the price right. If that shit is like $500, it's a fucking sinking ship immediately. As a matter of fact, that's fucking Davy Jones' locker style shit. They need to price this at, considering the hardware behind it, if I was a betting man, I would say it's going to be $250 to $300 when it launches. If it comes out for anything less than that, they're going to be eating cash. And I mean, fucking Razor Fist says it best, hemorrhaging money, those motherfuckers will have it gushing out of their eye sockets. Yeah. And it won't do anything good for them. Will you get a proper install base from the ground running? Yes, most definitely. But at what cost? And you don't need some shit like that. I just hope that they do it right, because it could be a novel experience, especially with all the applications combined with it.
Well, I think the other thing that, I would like to say that they did a good job at showing off their product and showing that they have faith in their product, but how many other VR headsets are they backing? There's an Xbox One controller coming with the HoloLens. It comes with the Oculus Rift. It comes with the... There's another one, if I'm not mistaken. And what happened to having faith in your goddamn product? Because it really seems like they are trying to, hitch their wagon to virtually anything that's going to come, trifting by, and that's not a good place to be in, I think.
Yeah, and it kills your kind of brand. It kills it kills how distinctive your brand is as well. It's just, like I said, until we see something that's actually done with this piece of shit, I say, assume it's a piece of shit. Assume it's chicanery. Because we all saw what you could do with Milo, with Kinect and shit, and people were like, it looks like fucking Skynet, and it did look like fucking Skynet. It was, but it turns out there was a shitload of chicanery going on there as well. So
the only thing that besides the shit that has already been brought up, the only other thing that could really work against the HoloLens being a viable product in all households for any tech geek out there is the already, and the shit ain't even out, already oversaturated market with every fucking company out there, both big and small, making their own headsets. And there's, and you can argue that, hey, look at like the console market, look at the phone market. There's room at the mountaintop. There is, but typically that's room for 2 to 3 tops.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Microsoft have already they've already inked a deal with fucking Oculus Rift to begin with. They're technically competing against themselves.
Yeah, and that was saying everybody was bringing up that oh man, they're actually killing off the idea because they're doing stuff with the Oculus Rift. It was like there's no fucking way that they spent this much money, this much time into it just to go and give it the X. But they're trying to make sure that their software is incorporated everywhere, and their hardware, which will also incorporate that. But it's like, man, you're painting yourself into a corner. You can't have the best of both worlds at to a certain extent. You gotta compete, even at a cost.
No, absolutely, and that's just the way it's young, so we'll see. But it just seems like, as I said, they're just trying to hitch their wagon to everything that'll go by, and it just, as Mr. Fisk said, it makes you look like desperate. You know, it really does. It makes you look like a whore in Omaha. You're just trying to.
Hey, that sounds like a good time. I don't know why you're bashing it, but
you apparently never been to Omaha, Nebraska. But anyway, and then they wrapped it up. Came towards the end with Cuphead, which I thought was very unexpected. This 1930s King Syndicate-styled animation, a horizontal shooter, and very interesting. Did anybody else get a look at that? No?
No, I've been seeing it everywhere, and I was glad to see that it was getting some semi-mainstream notoriety, because that
was
looks cool.
That was probably the most prominent featured new IP of the conference, honestly.
Probably the most hipstery one of all of them.
Yeah.
The hipstery throwback thing.
Well, a lot of those indie style titles, they've been look at the past, I don't know, like 5 to 10 years. Indie games have now gained momentum to the point that they become the must-have game. And there's no way that you can just sit there and ignore every single one just because it doesn't have a AAA budget or a publisher backing it. And this is one of those style games. And I think it's cool to see shit like that. These are the kind of games that I'm downloading on Steam all the time and trying out and playing the fuck out of. And I'm just glad to see it out there at E3 during a fucking Microsoft conference. That's big shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's very cool. It was just it was. I hate to with Doom and so far a whole bunch of shooting games. Even though it is a shooting game, it was a breath of fresh air in its own little way, and I think that's something special. And then there was there was good news at the end of this whole thing. And Alpha Omega Sin, I'm going to steal this from you because I think I can, is that the best news was that there was no Kinect. The Kinect does not fucking exist. We didn't talk about the Kinect. We didn't hear about the Kinect. We didn't even look at a picture of the goddamn Kinect. The Vita got more airtime than the Kinect did. And I think that's a really cool thing. I think that's kind of special. And also being very special is that they had the nerve to call this. They wrapped the whole thing up with the best Xbox lineup ever. I've never seen such a tepid reaction to the best lineup ever. It was really a grandiose, very big-headed statement, and then they followed it with Xbox jump ahead. Yeah, right off a fucking cliff.
Yeah.
This was the end-all, be-all. Is that right, Mr. Fisk? Was this the best lineup ever?
Yeah, no. Not software-wise. I thought Microsoft had a respectable press conference. They did okay, but it did feel like treading water. And all of their biggest announcements pretty much of the show were third-party in nature, just like pretty much everyone else, honestly. Like I said, I feel like E3 2015, the theme is third parties stole the show. And everyone else was like,
100%.
We thought of that. Like, we're publishing that. We get, a timed exclusive for that. Like, it really... It didn't feel like first parties were king shit of Turd Mountain anymore.
See, but that's one of the things that why I think it's important. I wish that some of the third parties were more prominently featured within their own separate press conferences, is because just imagine if you took Microsoft and Nintendo's press conferences, take away the third-party offerings that they had showcased on there, so they would have had like about 15 to 20 minutes. I just killed them off. Anyway, they'd have about 15 to 20 minutes, respectively, worth of shit to show off, and then the rest of the time, thumbs right up the asses in front of the general public, and they're like, well, so we built this stage.
Seriously.
And that'd be it. But I'm not complaining too much because the third-party offerings fucking rocked. So I was happy. I'm like, hey, you know, so long as it's good for the consumer, that's all that I give a shit about.
Well, and that's what we really hope for. And then after that, the fine folks at Electronic Arts decided that they were going to have a conference. Remember how we talked about Bethesda? Probably shouldn't have thrown a conference of that length, of that size, at their very first time at E3. EA, on the other hand, really harkens to mine, because the only thing that stepped out into my mind was Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, a sequel to a game that didn't sell well last year. So, and then after I watched the demo, which, and Razorfist was right, there was more gameplay than we've seen in recent years. And after you saw some of the gameplay, it's just another fucking shooter game. So, and I like Plants vs. Zombies, but I do not think it's charming enough to carry its own spin-off series. But there was that, and then this is something that struck me as funny. I'm used to EA being the sports people. I've gotten used to that over the years. That's just the way things are. But they've decided, and right after they decided they're going to align with the New England Patriots, and they expected that to get a pop. There was this big pause expecting everyone to applaud the New England Patriots, who, if you didn't know, if you don't follow sports, were recently outed as cheating their way to the top of the goddamn Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They apparently didn't get that notice and don't pay attention to sports themselves. So they're
hey, it was apropos because it sucked all the air out of the room. So there's that.
Hey, I think if anything, that's kind of if there was ever a sports team for them to be aligned with, it totally makes sense.
Oh yeah.
They were just outing themselves. They were like, "Fuck it, this is our crew. You don't like us? Fuck you. We'll cheat our way into something."
Yeah, we fucking love cheaters. And what did they follow that up with? They followed it up, and I thought it was going to be Madden. I'm like, oh, we're getting another fucking Madden. But apparently, they're coming out with, and I don't know how to quite describe this to the people that like real video games, but they're coming out with a fantasy football game. Ooh. A fantasy football game. Like, football games are not, casualized enough. We've got fantasy football games who are for only the most hardcore of lazy asses. This has to appeal to the people that watch people play cards on television. These have to be the people that is the demographic for this kind of game.
The kind of cats who get satellite TV just to watch shuffleboard tournaments in fucking Malaysia. Yeah.
Yeah. The kind of guys that actually watch curling. Those kind of guys.
Curling!
That's
curling is Canada's joke to the world. That's what curling is. I don't know.
The broadest joke is that they got other countries to do it.
I feel like EA's conference is kind of tied with Ubisoft's for the two weakest. I felt like they were both just sort of okay.
I think EA wins because this one was spectacularly weak. This was a weak spectacle. This was just the absolute spectacle of the mundane. These are
you're right. It kind of was like this big, pompous crescendo building to a spider fart. That's what it was. It was just a little squeaky little fucking balloon fart is all that was.
Oh, yeah, and just zipped right out the room. These are the people that dedicated 20 minutes of a video game press conference to interview a guy that played soccer 25 fucking years ago.
Well, hey, they were in California. They know their demographic.
Yeah, but none of those people were in the audience. There's a whole bunch of white people looking at their iPhone wondering, I wonder if that Fallout game's still on here. That's exactly what it was. And now, I don't want to take away from what Pele has done for the sport of soccer, but number one, I'm an American, and you're lucky I'm even talking about soccer, first and foremost. Number two, we had, and For those of you folks that don't know how E3 works, and because you don't see the cameras, you don't see the sound people, you don't see the lighting people and the grips and all those people, you got a lot of people, a lot of folks making union wages to film some asshole talk about soccer. They weren't even talking about the FIFA game. They didn't mention the game throughout the whole goddamn interview. And they went like 25 minutes over. Like, they fucked over Jeff Keighley, which is a good thing. Anytime you fuck over Jeff Keighley or Adam Sessler, that's a good thing.
Yep.
Speaking of Adam Sessler, I hope to meet Adam Sessler so I can tell him how much I love the Magic Eraser. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Here, I'm going to be the person that brings some positivity to the EA thing, because that's me. I'm going to be the counterweight. Unravel, Star Wars, and Need for Speed. That's what I gave a shit about, but I already knew about Need for Speed.
I forgot
Unravel was a surprise, admittedly. A big-time surprise that I wasn't expecting at all. And Need for Speed, I'm a sucker for the old Need for Speed games. Like I say, not the run. Never the run. If it's ever like the run, I'll have the runs. So I don't ever want to see another fucking thing ever in the known goddamn fucking universe known as the run. So we can't do that, ever. Thank you.
I'm not going to fault you on that, but I want to know something. I want to know something for my own satisfaction, and you guys, if you can fill me in, I'd really appreciate it. Why was Kirby's Epic Yarn stupid and childish, but Unravel was innovative?
Okay, here, I will tell you. I will tell you to begin with. One, I've got Kirby's Epic Yarn sent over there fucking proudly, because I got within the first couple months of its release. That game is fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. And I've been defending Kirby games for fucking years to all the detractors who only bash it because it's a Nintendo game. It's meant for kids. You fucking empty-headed shitheel. Shut the fuck up. You've never fucking picked up a goddamn controller and played one of those goddamn games, because I assure you 100% you wouldn't be fucking saying that once you get to, like, stage 6 or 7 and it starts pounding your fucking ass like you're a fucking goddamn smaller inmate over at whatever fucking goddamn prison. The Kirby games are awesome. Unravel looks awesome as shit. I'm just not stupid enough to think that I can't play a game because of its graphical presentation. That's asinine and dumb. If it's Dora the fucking Explorer and dealing with the fucking, like, green card police or who the fuck ever, and Border Patrol, that's fine. That's a fucking kid's game. But these, they're for everybody. Big fucking deal. But yeah, Unravel looks awesome. Hooray.
It looks interesting. I'm not going to take that away. So I guess if nothing else, 2015 will be the year of Yarn.
Yeah.
So we got that going for us. Don't forget those fucking amiibos, which are drawing money like a motherfucker, which is absolutely insane. And what's interesting is some of the things, I don't want to fault EA, but these are marketing people. They have a huge marketing department, and they expect me to believe that you and me cannot tell the difference between real cars driving a car and a car on a screen. I'm not the sharpest guy on the planet, but I know that I know the fucking difference between a car on a screen and actually driving a car. And also, these are the people that have continuously... This is the fourth E3 consisting of dubstep.
Ugh.
Mr. Fist, did you notice that?
Oh God! And it was prevalent in a lot of gameplay as well. Like I thought I heard some wubstep in the Call of Duty Black Ops Part 17 billion fucking gameplay. I thought I heard. Well, there was definitely dubstep in the fucking Doom soundtrack at the Bethesda conference. It was just dubstep, and I don't understand because motherfuckers, it's not 2008 anymore. Like dubstep is officially dated. Like even the electronic music fans have kind of moved the fuck on. It's done. It's done. So I don't get it. Every single time I hear dubstep, especially at a video game conference, it seems like the old man who has the backwards hat on backwards and is like, "Hey kids," you know what I mean? Like, "What's up, dude?"
Hey,
I'm going to officially translate for everybody out there that's very pro dubstep what Razor Fist just said. It
sounds like a fucking car that won't turn over.
No, you forgot boo.
Oh yeah, my bad. And I also forgot my fucking MacBook Pro while I'm down in some dingy fucking basement in front of 15 fucking people that don't know why they're there, but that fucking acid they took sure is kicking in.
Yeah, it's sorry. God damn it! This is the last time I dropped my belt sander in the toilet. Like this is.
If
Welcome
only
to
they could
dubstep.
just drop the belt sander onto themselves, and things might be taken care of. But it's oh, by the way, somebody. I just want to get this off my chest. There's quite a few people saying the fucking anything with yarn and paper and all the other shit and those kind of games are gay and stuff. That right there, I have to go and fucking say to you directly that you are the most insecure pile of fuck in the entire known goddamn universe, that you're measuring your fucking manhood based off of what the fuck you see on the screen as an art style.
Come on.
And you're fucking offended by it. It's fucking pathetic.
Let's be honest. If somebody made Charles Bronson's face out of yarn, it would still penetrate your mother's hymen without being within 5 blocks of it. Okay?
And it would
yarn
be fucking
does
awesome.
not matter. It's just the medium. It's what's conveyed through the yarn.
Dude, that shit gets me all the time. Is a game like Kirby's Epic Yarn, that shit graphically is gonna fucking hold up for years. All you little fucking twats that are out there having your little fucking jerk fest with your fucking tweezers, tugging your fucking little beef whistle to whatever game out there that's pushing the fucking graphical envelope of realism that looks like shit 5 fucking minutes later, because guess what? PC did it fucking better right after that with whatever fucking mod that showed up, and then all of a sudden, the shit that you like doesn't look all that fucking hot anymore. So take your fucking hot garbage that you're fucking spewing and go and blow it out your ass, you fucking chump.
Take your fucking 30 Shades of Grey art style and your fucking horseshit. Step off the goddamn bandwagon and try something with fucking color on occasion. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, the fucking color wheel's being tapped into! A color palette that goes beyond browns and grays! So I don't have people fucking shitting on rocks as my only goddamn fucking color sense that I see on screen. I bought a 4K fucking TV. I don't want to see 2 fucking dingy colors. Sorry, my bad. Idiots, man. I swear.
Well, that's just the nature of things. You know that. But and you know, if you notice, and if you look at what we've already talked about, what Bethesda has done, what Xbox has done, what EA has done, color is coming back. Of all the things that we've said in the community for years, they're bringing color. They're not changing gameplay styles. They're not changing marketing strategies, but they're giving us color. So
That's
it's all the
pretty
motherfuckers like me.
You remember when Killzone Shadowfall was announced and everyone
Yes,
was
I
like
do.
everyone was like green? Green?
Red?
Is that green in Killzone? Is that Are you a wizard?
Fuck, reds and blues? And it doesn't have to do with, like, the sky?
I
And
don't
blood?
feel like I'm in a fucking bottling plant or a box factory. Like, what the shit?
You stumbled into Crayola. That's what you did.
That's been happening the last several years. They've been gradually injecting fucking color into traditionally monochromatic affairs.
Dude, even Doom 4 was colorful. Let's put that out there real fucking quick for everybody that seems to have a fucking problem with looking at a Nintendo game and thinking it's childish because they used the full spectrum of a fucking Crayola box, you dumb fuck. Oh my god, Doom, a game based in hell.
Well, hell's colorful.
Huh?
Hell's colorful. I mean, all
It is. And that's the fucking truth. Hell is a fucking colorful place. I'm pretty sure fucking Lucifer and Beelzebub and a bunch of other fucking demons and devils don't go and think, you know what, I really don't fucking like rainbows. Okay, listen, they jammed a Dio like anybody else. Fuck off with all that shit. So they most definitely are okay with anything and everything with tons of fucking colors. Suck my nuts.
I just like to put this out there. Black Sabbath has an album cover with purple on it. End of story.
I've got a shirt. I've got a shirt from fucking Acheron. You know, Acheron, fucking evil as shit. Guess what? The logo? Bright fucking purple. And it's a big fucking satanic pentagram right in the middle. And it's fucking awesome. I specifically got that because I was like, oh, I don't want the white one. That one's purple, and that's badass. The Joker wears purple. He's awesome. Why not?
True.
See, there you go. It's always a mystery. You know how it is. But in between the EA and Ubisoft press conference, which, might as well have not been there anyway, there was what I like to refer to as the Rock Band debacle. Did anybody see that Rock Band's trying to make a comeback? And I don't know how to put this plainly, but they didn't wait long enough. Usually when you go away for a while and you come back, there's a bit of a pop, and hey, we're glad to see you. And that pop lasted all of like 12 fucking seconds because I saw Rock Band meet Sega CD. There was a full motion video experience, and then the same bullshit I saw a few years ago, but now with a soloing apparatus, a new soloing game mechanic, which is really impressive unless you actually know how to fucking play guitar, and then you realize what that was actually just, two really shitty musical passages looped back together. If you didn't watch it, don't worry, you didn't fucking miss anything, but goddamn Rock Band can suck a dick. Alpha Megasin, what were you saying?
Oh, no, I was going to say the biggest pop I've ever seen within the past decade or so for anything Rock Band and Guitar Hero related is whenever somebody sees a big mountain of them sitting at a fucking thrift store, and even at $1, nobody wants to pick them up. So, sorry. Take that shit to a fucking recycling plant where the fuck it needs to go.
Yeah, the only pop associated with Guitar Hero is the sound it makes when it hits the bottom of the fucking dumpster, alright? Those peripherals are like... They're like those things that kids used to buy with the rubber ball in the middle and the disc around it that they used to jump. You know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about.
You mean the Pogo ball?
Yeah, those things. The things that everybody fucking owned at one time, and then everybody kind of emerges from the stupor, like in 1993, and it's like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Everybody had one until they got to see their fucking hospital bill for a twisted ankle.
It's like 9 broken bones and 3 dislocated hips later. They're like,
yeah, that and the Nickelodeon moon shoes. That's what did that, and set a whole bunch of people afraid of going outside ever again.
Dude,
yeah. I think that toy was actually invented by fucking chiropractors. I think it was a conspiracy.
Dude, I think that the moon shoes definitely had a high return rate because all you had was these elastic bands. The minute that you handed that off to a fucking fatty Bo Batty kid, and he fucking just stood there with the bands touching the fucking ground, just keeping parts of his shoes clean, and every time he jumped, he was just disappointed. Yeah, they took that shit back pretty quick.
Well, they made that shit for fat kids because they sold the replacement rubber bands right next to it at Toys R Us. They knew what they were doing. That was the iPhone of its day, son.
Those fucking replacement bands, even if you strap 50 of those fuckers to any working pair of moon shoes, it wasn't gonna do dick. Those fat kids weren't fucking moving at all unless the ice cream truck came by. That's all.
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird when it was moon shoes, replacement rubber bands, insulin. I thought that was a little strange. A little bit odd.
Dude, if they put that shit side by side at fucking KB Toy Store, yes, we're doing proper throwbacks. We do that shit at KB Toy Store. Yeah, the parents can just have the one aisle shopping experience where they go and get all that stuff off shelves right up there. It's fantastic. God, I love this podcast.
The world's most dangerous podcast, and there's no one that can do anything about it. But we thank you for being here. Something that was interesting to me. Oh, you know what? While I got this time, I'm going to bitch it for just a second, but I want to remind everybody there's some contact information. Give us all a sub, each and every one of us. Follow us at the Twitter, follow us on your Facebook. For those of you who got Nintendo Wii U, go ahead and check us out on the Miiverse, all that good stuff. Check it out because we are the most dangerous podcast in the world, and we're happy that, well, actually we're not happy with any of you. Fuck you people. But anyway, what's something that was staggering to me? I just pandered everybody and told them to fuck off. That's great marketing, Chaos. Really good.
No, that's the Heatbit podcast marketing is what that is.
That's how we do it, baby. You know what was really interesting to me is to see the just staggering amount of grown people sitting in theaters applauding logos. They would just put a logo on the screen, and there'd be a quiet murmuring, because people are looking at their phones. They're not really paying attention. Then a little bit of this, and I'm convinced there were like fluffers and applause signs. Like, oh yeah,
it was weird.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that is, yeah.
Did anybody else get the feeling at this E3 that the applause breaks and the silence were in the wrong places? like, for example, during the Sony press conference, I remember them showing the Naughty Dog logo during the Uncharted 4 thing. And everybody was like, yeah! And then there was this obvious moment in the trailer where they finally reveal Nathan Drake, and he turns and looks at the camera and he pauses for a minute, and clearly you're all supposed to applaud. Nothing. Nothing.
And then the demo crashed and they started it all over again.
And then they crashed.
I don't think that was an accident. I think that was a reboot because they're like, no, we're getting fucking applause on Drake. That's all there is to it.
It's like, God damn it, we are going to hammer it over.
Applaud.
Yeah, it has to be. Nathan Drake has to be hammered over. He is officially the Triple H of video games. That's what it is. If it doesn't work once, by God, we'll give him the title 90 more times.
And if it doesn't work again, we're sticking Terminator in that shit. Regardless of how you feel about it, E3 was definitely better than WrestleMania, so we got that going on for us.
Well.
This is definitely a step up.
We didn't have the Terminator shoehorned in anywhere, so that's good, right?
You could tell based on what Sessler and fucking Keeley were talking about, they wanted to shoehorn that shit into E3. They so wanted, but what do? They shoehorn that Ben Kingsley movie in there, which further proves my theory that Ben Kingsley will be in anything. He just,
oh man,
he seems
like
he
he's like the new Michael Caine. He really is.
He is. He's just too nice. He's like Christopher Lloyd. He's too nice to say no.
I think I have home
Speaking
movies that Ben Kingsley's in, actually.
King's Quest. There's a new King's Quest on the horizon. Did I forget to mention that? No one cared. You see that? No one gave a shit that there's a new King's Quest. Sierra, fuck those people. Oh, goodness gracious. And then from there, we moved into Ubisoft. Now, I want to get my Ubisoft gripes out in the open so we can talk about this. Aisha Tyler. Ooh, I got boos just then. I could feel it. People booing the screen just then. Consistently annoying. If you could say nothing else about Aisha Tyler, this bitch is consistently annoying and not nearly as tall as she was last year. So, good on her. Good on her. I want to talk, and she was talking with the South Park guys. I want to know, can the South Park guys go the fuck away? Yeah. Wasn't there enough balding, greasy white dudes on this show, but we got to stick fucking Trey Parker and Matt Stone on here to plug a sequel to a game that everyone fucking hated? And I know they say they turned it around, but Ubisoft, South Park, Xbox, those three names have been sullied, and I don't think showing up again for a second year in a row is really the way to turn things around. That's just my feeling. You guys might have separate feelings about the new South Park game, but I'm done.
I'm excited.
I like Stick of Truth. I thought it was good for what it is. But yeah, South Park's humor doesn't really do anything for me.
I'll be honest, I think that, depending on how people view the show and shit, I think that in a video game environment, I think it's written differently by comparison to how you watch the show.
It's written like a YouTube video.
Well, it's a lot of fourth wall breaking type shit, and I appreciate that. I actually find the games like really funny, and Stick of Truth was just like playing, Mario RPG or Paper Mario or something, just with South Park, and that's cool to me. And when they showed off, you'll be running around as their superhero alter egos, and I thought that was a neat little idea. They didn't seem to dedicate a lot of time to that, which I thought was odd because that game did really fucking well. Stupid well. So I was kind of surprised by that, because that got like such a big buzz, and I don't know what it sold though. I'm assuming it sold well. I mean,
I'm sure Stick of Truth did well. It had a lot of buzz, and a lot of people. I mean, I know a lot of people that fucking bought it. That's generally my fucking barometer for how well a game did, by the way. Because usually if a lot of people I know don't have it, then it probably didn't do that well. But if a lot of people I know had it, it probably did all right. Whatever.
See, mine's backwards, because the only people that get new games is you, and they send them to you, so that doesn't really count. just laying that out there. I just want, and I'm tired of South Park, and I just don't. I think that a bunch of old white men need to hang it up. If the Simpsons need to hang it up, South Park needs to hang it up.
South Park should have ended a long ass time ago. Jesus.
And the tough thing is, they are the best thing on Comedy Central, and that is a goddamn shame.
Well, yeah, when every other fucking show is just a rebuttal to Bill O'Reilly, that'll happen. It's fucking Christ. It's not even about jokes anymore. They got that new show on after the goddamn Daily Show or Colbert or whatever the fuck. That's just that one black dude being bitter for an hour. Like, that's basically all that is. What the fuck is that called? Like, Late Late something?
Show? Or... No.
fucking terrible. It's just god awful. Like they
Well,
don't
let's not
even
give
bring
them any more
comedians on. They just bring on politicians and shit and interview. It's like it should be on goddamn NPR.
Wow. Well, knowing what I know about NPR. And there was
Impressive
also...
skull hopping technique, though.
No kidding. And there was talk about this game, For Honor, which was a brand new IP, apparently so important it couldn't wait till the end of the show. I'm going to say my feelings right now. For Honor looks like Dynasty Warriors if you surgically removed all the fun.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
That made me feel good inside in all the right areas.
Yeah.
It was just a severe letdown because there was no big splashes. It was just like, it starts out just like a Dynasty Warriors game. Go fuck shit up. And then you're just punching and kicking. It's like you went from Dynasty Warriors to World Heroes.
Well, here, the reason I don't need For Honor is because I already just got Hyrule Warriors. Then they're doing Dragon Quest Heroes. Yeah. So I just need Dragon Quest Heroes, and For Honor can just sit in its shadow forever until it just comes down like a big fucking monument, just crash right on it, kills it, the end. But it's, I don't know, I'm glad that they're at least showing off new games, you know, that don't have Assassins or Creed. Oh god, can we talk about Assassin's Creed? Can we please?
Wait, you mean the game with the stealth assassins who are just roaming the streets, punching the fuck out of everybody?
Hold on, no, rant, need
rant.
Oh.
Okay, Razorfist can help me here. Listen, everybody, right the fuck now. Assassins do not go into bars screaming at the top of their lungs, recruiting and making demands. They don't go into the streets, hanging motherfuckers, and then summon, with a snap of their fucking fingers and a quip of their lip, a fucking gang who were just like coming out with fucking random anything they could pick up. It didn't matter. They just looked like random people.
Dude, I almost got West Side Story vibes. I expected the gang to come in. I expected them to walk in going. Like dude, I was expecting some kind of fucking knife duel in the middle of the street.
It was like Assassin's Creed, the Oliver Twist rendition. And why the fuck? Why in the holy mother of fuck is this happening? They are not assassinating anything. They are not innating anything. They're not creeding anything.
It's like Hooligans Creed.
I don't understand.
There's
what the
no
fuck
creed. Fucking Apollo Creed is more Assassin's Creed right now.
Yeah, dude, it's so like, okay, I like stealth games, okay? I'm selective about my stealth games on top of that. I've always had this thing about Assassin's Creed that I felt that it wasn't really a stealth game after a while. They start putting all this focus on multiplayer. It's just bigger and bigger syndicates of assassins who, like, pal around and go out for drinks and shit.
Yeah. And that's something that needs to be mentioned here. This is not something that's unique to the newest Assassin's Creed. This is something that's been going on. This has been going on since, was it Brotherhood, where they introduced tower defense and shit? And you're whipping out a giant cannon and fighting in a huge army. Like, what? How stealthy? How fucking stealthy? Like, I don't get it. I don't get the appeal at all. It's like they have this sneaking game that they could turn into a real proper sneaking game and a proper stealth type. Like, I would argue the first two are stealth. It's just a different kind of stealth. It's social stealth. You're trying to blend in. You're trying not to ruffle any feathers. It stands to reason because that was the original concept behind the entire goddamn series. But now, it is literally 90% about multiplayer and fucking tower defense and recruiting an army, which, by the way, really helps the player feel profoundly special when there's 31 billion people who look and act and have the exact same fucking moves as he does. That really helps the player to feel godlike and assassinish.
That's what made the very first Assassin's Creed, which I do enjoy, by the way.
Yeah.
The very first one, you were unique. You went around and you were the fucking man. You were the force to be feared, and nobody knew where the fuck you were at. You had motherfuckers on their fucking toes, worried as shit, like, oh my god, when's it gonna happen? Now, we have people going to a steel mill and then hanging a motherfucker, stabbing everybody Arkham Knight style, because guess the fuck what? That's all it was. I don't even know where to begin with how fucking angry I was, because I felt offended as a stealth fan looking at this. And anybody can argue and tell me, Alpha, you're terrible. Unsubbed, I don't give a fuck at all. If you're unsubbing over an opinion, then please suck my dick on the way out and make yourself useful at least, since your opinion sucks. But we have a fucking stealth game. Let's use our quotation marks today. Let's use all of them and get them from every corner of the world. This is not a fucking stealth game. Okay? No. You might as well just hand them all fucking assault rifles, because that's where it's going. All they've been doing is fucking getting everybody prepared for whenever you're going to be going through like a Vietnam jungle and you're going to be assassinating. That's what's going to be happening.
Oh, I have no doubt. There's gonna be one set in Vietnam. It's gonna become a third-person shooter. I mean, they really have set up a situation where they could go absolutely anywhere with this and make any kind of game and slap an Assassin's Creed logo on it, and boom, there you go. It'll sell a bajillion copies, and it won't matter. That's the direction Ubisoft is going in now, and it's so abundantly clear that it's gotten to that point. Let this fucking franchise breathe. Let it breathe. Just stop. Just let it rest for a minute. Like, tie your shoes. Just have a cigarette and a poop. We need a break.
Order.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing. They crank these things out so fucking fast. They might as well build a fucking drive-through into the Ubisoft office.
Yeah, and they feel rushed. I mean, goddamn, how many people with fucking Unity? How many people had problems with basic things like parkour? I mean, the act of climbing in a window, you'd fall through into the nebulous void underneath the fucking terrain. I mean, it's just, they're not finished anymore. It's affecting the product. It's affecting the ratings your product are getting, and yet people are still fucking buying them. Well, I don't know why.
Dude, they are taking the fucking rule book of Electronic Arts and Activision, and it's milk it until that motherfucker's dry, and then give it a fucking break of a couple years, then bring it back as if it's fucking fresh and new. You know, putting actual time and effort into the game, developing it. Who'd have fucking thought of that? And guess what it'll be? A fucking reboot. And then all of a sudden, whatever the gimmick of the day is, that'll be applied.
It's so deeply depressing, too, because then you look at other companies. Like, what is Assassin's Creed at the end of the day? Like, what was the thing everybody joked about? They called it fucking Grand Theft Horse. You know what I mean? Because it's an open world. You're in a city, and you're breaking the law a lot, and then guards chase you around, and you get in trouble. And it's Grand Theft Auto with fucking hoods and swords and shit, right? Look at Rockstar. Look at how they make the exact same kind of game. They take their time. They don't release one every single year. Yep. How many years was it between Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5? And then when they come out, they wind up selling 19 billion copies. And it's like, you could make even more money if you just took your time. If you just took your time, this series could make a lot more dollars than it is right now.
But that's the thing, is that they look at this with the mindset of quantity and namesake over quality. They don't give a single flying fuck. They don't give a swimming fuck or a driving fuck or a standstill fuck about the quality of these games. And any person that has noticed this and continues to buy them, you are getting a game that is broken beyond comprehension. How many fucking patches did the last Assassin's Creed get? A fucking shitload. And how many fixes were applied to that? They said it was like over 100 just for the first patch. Yeah. There is no fucking excuse for a game as big as Assassin's Creed to be that fucked up.
Yeah. It's utterly inexcusable. Utterly inexcusable. I just do not understand why. Once again, if they just took a little more time, they would make that much more fucking money. And it's the only... Because they would rather have a fucking quick payday. It just doesn't... To think of what could have been with this series is one of the most deeply depressing things you could ever do in your life. Because Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 had outlandish degrees of potential. Yeah. And they have been completely squandered with subsequent entries.
That series should be the shit. I should be celebrating the very release of it. Yeah. And all I do is I just look at it and then I continue about my day, because it's like Call of Duty, it's like Madden. You know, those things come out so fucking often. They breakneck speed, and they act like the shit is new every single fucking time. I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck, and I haven't given a fuck for years.
And let's not let the fans off the fucking hook here. It's not all Ubisoft. It's the fucking fans buying shitty games. I mean, because some of these games are not just inferior for Assassin's Creed titles. Some of them are just shitty. Assassin's Creed 3, anyone? Like, that game, you want to just spiral into the darkest, blackest depression of your life? Assassin's Creed 3 is the best-selling game in the series. 12 million copies sold. What the fuck? At that point, what won't you buy? Could they literally just put a roll of toilet paper in a box and put Assassin's Creed on the fucking top and go, hey, here you go?
It's even worse than the people just buying it. It's the people that are aware and noting all of the things wrong with it and then defending it. If you I've said this so many times, fanboys don't give a fuck, though, because common sense, what's that? A rare commodity. They don't give a shit whatsoever about the quality of the title that they put on a pedestal. They only give a shit that it exists for the 5 fucking minutes that it's still relevant in their eyes until the next hot thing comes along.
And you have to understand that this directly affects how the games are made. I remember, was it Yves Guillemot, I think, head of Ubisoft, was interviewed a few years ago, and shortly after Assassin's Creed 3, and it was getting terrible reviews, and yet it sold more copies than anything in the series to date. And he gives an interview saying, we'll stop making Assassin's Creed games, or we'll stop making Assassin's Creed games annual when the fans tell us that it shouldn't be annual anymore. Meanwhile, shitty reviews all across the board for Assassin's Creed 3. Even the fanboys were calling that game out as the outright runny fucking turd that it truly is. And yet, you know, he's ignoring that and just paying attention to the sales numbers. If you keep buying it, it's never going to improve. It's you have to vote with your wallet.
Yeah, and nobody wants to do that, though, and it always fucking bugs the shit out of me. And you know, okay, Razor, people like you and me will be written off as fucking elitists because
it's not.
We don't like this kind of shit, and we just we both of us on record have fucking said that we like some of the entries in the series, but we'll fucking obviously note and pay attention to all of its shortcomings, which there are a lot of.
That's the thing that people fail to take into account. Like, I haven't really gotten into this much on my own show, but like, for a very brief window of time, Assassin's Creed 1, 2. Assassin's Creed was one of my favorite video game series. Like, I played the first one and I was like, wow, this really is kind of like nothing else out there. It's a little bit of Grand Theft Auto, there's some Prince of Persia in there, there's some stealth in there, but it's not this standard kind of stealth that you're used to. Every single assassination kind of means something. The way that everything's handled, I like the story. Yeah, it's linear, but it was an interesting game, and I was curious to see where it would go, and for a very brief window of time, it was one of my favorite video game series ever. And I think if more people were honest, they would say that for a brief window of time, it was one of their favorite game series as well. But it did not take long. I mean, literally from Brotherhood onward, it was just downhill, a consistent downhill, like Homer jumping fucking Springfield Gorge, just plummet.
Oh, dude, I wanna fucking animate that now, where he's falling, and then just put like Assassin's Creed games on him, and every time he hits something, he turns into a Katamari ball of fucking Assassin's Creed games. Just going
down. Then the gurney smacks him in the head at the end.
I was just thinking about Yves Guillemot falling into Springfield Gorge. That would always be fun.
Please.
We're talking about.
I'm just astounded that you were expecting honesty from the French. That's the thing that would just really set me off. Like, what? You're barking up a dead tree.
Well, here, okay. So we've beaten that motherfucker into the dirt. Fucking Chaos. What was the name again of that?
I was
really
just getting to that. There was one fun game called Trackmaster, one of the most bland names I've ever fucking heard of in my life, but you know what? It looked like a lot of fun. It looked like a steady cross between Excite Truck and roller coaster. What's the roller coaster simulator where you build your own roller coaster?
Well, there was Roller Coaster Tycoon, Sim Roller Coaster, and then Theme Park.
I think it was either theme park or sim coaster, but it looks like you build your own tracks, which look a lot like roller coasters, and you race on it. And it looked like they were having a bit of trouble during the live show off, but that looked like fun. Yeah. I defy anybody to hold anything against that, and I don't care for almost anything that comes out of Ubisoft, with the exception of being Rayman. But Trackmaster looks cool, but I'm not buying an Xbox One for Trackmaster and Trials Fusion. That's just not going to happen.
There's checking out Trackmaster, which anybody who's listening to this, genuinely just type into YouTube Trackmaster E3 2015. You'll see footage of it. But the game itself, you can create all your own stages, and it's an over-the-top racing game. Think some of the most insane Hot Wheels sets. And you're just driving all over the place, and it's fucking crazy. Like, I love the shit out of ideas like this, because traditional racing games, whether it's arcade-style racers or it's simulation racers, don't always get extremely crazy. And I'm talking like F-Zero style crazy. This decided to go and crank that shit to some kind of 11, and I like that. I'm hoping that the game's really polished when it comes out, and I hope that this gets like a good turnout of people to jump on board with it, because it's a novel experience, and with user-generated content, at least it won't get boring within 5 fucking minutes, you know?
No, I understand that entirely, and like I said, it looks really cool. It looks like, that kind of thing, but it has physics. The very first thing you saw is the dude built himself a track and then crashed right into the start sign, which I thought was like, now this is real. Anytime, and you heard that got a bigger fucking pop than Just Dance did. Just Dance.
Oh God, fucking! I don't know who what fucking goddamn idiot at Ubisoft keeps on saying, at every single one of our press conferences, we should have some kind of musical act and then bring out Just Dance. Look, those things fucking sell, regardless.
My mom buys that shit every fucking year, so I can't say it doesn't.
But the entire audience who's into those fucking shit pickles, okay, should not, for any known goddamn reason, just get rid of them from the conference. It's valuable
those people
time.
Don't give a fuck about E3.
Exactly. Like, fuck that, man. That's all. It's, yeah.
Well, and that was it. And that was the French-Canadian Ubisoft presentation. And they, once again, Aisha Tyler, consistently annoying. So you can't take that away from her or them. But now we move on.
There was one other thing. What about the Ghost Recon?
What the fuck about it?
Dude, Ghost Recon, I was not expecting at all to even show up. And it's pretty goddamn different compared to all the past Ghost Recon games.
Well, what I want to talk about is actually the Ghost. Did you see the Ghost Recon Wildlands? Did you see that?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That big fucking loaded trailer. I want to know something. Why is it okay in the eyes of media to kill drug dealers?
I don't know, because they're bad.
That's something I tried to figure out, because there was this very heavy, what's the word I'm looking for? Very much like a moralistic undertone to the whole thing setting up for Wildlands. Why is it okay to murder drug dealers, but murdering tobacco executives and McDonald's people who sell poison, that's wrong?
Okay, here, I'll tell you why. Ever since the 80s, we got to play
Whoa. Hold on. How many fucking drugs, how many illicit drugs are literally made with fucking strychnine and poison? Drug dealers do still poison.
I'm not saying that drugs are not poison. I'm saying, why do we get to pick and choose for the purposes of selling video games?
Okay, I gotcha. I was just saying, they both sell poison.
That classic American double standard to say one thing, do something else?
Dude, it's NARC. NARC told us...
Sorry, I interrupted you, Alpha. Sorry.
NARC told us that it was okay for us to go around
NARC said it was okay.
Blow motherfuckers away, and then steal all their cocaine, their weed, and their money, and then we just go on to stage 2. Yeah, fuck it. And Grand Theft Auto's been doing it for a long time, too. I'm happy about that. Saints Row started doing it, but they were like, want superpowers? Well, yeah. Now it's like I'm taking the drugs. Fuck yeah, this is great.
I I know, but also don't forget, your entire argument is based on NARC, and if you want to run off of that, that would mean that Revolution X would show that Aerosmith knew how to make business decisions, and that's also not true.
And you know what your problem is, Chaos, is that you didn't realize music is your weapon, and you didn't care.
Factual.
That's true. Music is the weapon. If ever I want to defend myself against a drug lord, I'm going to fling CDs at this guy with my CD gun, and then you'll know that when they play Eat the Rich, there will be no cocaine for anybody.
Fact.
Absolute fact of the matter. And now we get to, that was enough of Ubisoft. And now we move on to, oh, I'm sorry, Alpha. Did you want to finish talking about Ghost Recon?
Oh, okay. I thought Ghost Recon looked really fucking cool. The other games that they showed, the other Tom Clancy games that weren't fucking Splinter Cell, so I could give a shit less ultimately, when they showed those off, I could not tell the fucking difference. I know that some people are like, well, this one kind of has a Watch Dogs vibe. No, they really just bled together and looked like the same fucking thing, and if they were just shown back-to-back, like, flipped over and over again, I'm like, oh, look at that same game I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
Well, the only difference between them was a Peruvian guy crucified to a fucking table with fucking fishing knives. That was really the only difference.
Yeah, and you want to know what? Just watch an episode of Dexter. You see that shit all the fucking time.
There you
Nothing
go.
new.
There you go, absolutely. And now we move on to the evening portion of day one. I know this has been going on for a long time, folks, but that's what you asked for, and that's what we deliver. Every single time right here on the 8-Bit Podcast. Now, I want to make it clear that this portion of the 8-Bit Podcast was brought to you by the fine folks at Sony Computer Entertainment. PlayStation, bankruptcy awaits. There was a lot going on there. I'm going to say this. I want to get this out of the way first and foremost. The Last Guardian looked fucking boring as shit. I understand that there's a lot of people who are watching this program who are in that audience who would love to have a great big dog with feathers. Yeah. I understand that. But I want to know, did everything have to have dogs? Fallout had a dog. Last Guardian had a dog. Recore had a cybernetic dog. Call of Duty had a dog last year. Uncharted had chickens. Does everything does everything need a dog? Because you notice the dogs got bigger pops, got bigger applause than the logos. Which
True.
Should, but the fact remains, is this what we're left with? We need to pander to people with dogs?
Okay, well, what you're failing to realize is that what we're doing is we are setting up for a proper revolution. We are going to have the old cat lady class that will be accessible. She summons them up like a fucking necromancer, and they will piss all over everything that you have, and if you're wearing black clothing, they'll put fur on it and slow you down. It'll be fucking great. You don't realize that, but that's where we're heading, and it'll be awesome. So
Yell Chaos, calm down, calm down. See, I think you're misinterpreting, all right?
All right.
What you construe as an obsession with dogs is in fact the video game industry attempting to expand into the Korean market. Okay, sorry. But hey, look, at the Sony conference, I for one, who says we didn't learn anything? I for one learned about all the fantastic games Square Enix will be making and Sony will be taking credit for. So
whoa!
I do want to go and point out something to add on to what Razorfist said, is that all the dog DLC will be found behind the China Sea, little down the road, and it'll be great. So when you're going and ordering, if you want to go and get that dog DLC, it's right out there, served in a bag. It's great stuff, so at least roll with that.
Dog. I call it a doggy bag, you know.
Wah, wah, wah.
But anyway, and then of course there was big news. The entire internet jizzed in their pants when Final Fantasy VII, the remake, was introduced for all to see. And Alpha Omega Sin got on the Twitter. I seen it in fucking real time and lost his goddamn mind. And then right after that, my good friend, you've heard of him, Mr. Razorfist gets on and says, "Fuck Alpha Omega Sin and everybody."
I did not say that.
No, you didn't say that. But I want.
For the record, everybody knows that Razorfist does not really like Final Fantasy VII as much as someone like me. So here, take it away, sir. Go. We'll be good.
Like, feel like you should have had an olive branch clenched between your teeth while you said that. That was possibly the most diplomatic statement in the history of diplomatic statements. No, look, everybody knows how I feel about Final Fantasy VII. Although, I do have to say, fucking, it is kind of curious that everyone's like, Final Fantasy 13 is shitty because all these cutscenes and all we're doing is looking at a bunch of pretty shit and nothing ever happens. And then we see a trailer of a bunch of pretty shit and nothing happens, and everyone's like, fucking Square Enix just saved themselves. They're fixed. Entire game industry saved. Like, it's the same thing. It's just Cyberpunk. They're just stealing from Blade Runner instead of stealing from Final Fantasy VIII this time. That's all it is.
Well, there is something interesting to note, is that, and I was reading about this recently, and I thought it was kind of cool. Okay, Fist, do you like Parasite Eve?
I love Parasite Eve.
Did you know that Parasite Eve originally started off as Final Fantasy VII?
I did not know that.
I didn't either. I was going and reading up about it, and they said that they wanted to take Final Fantasy and then make it into like a modern setting. That back then, '97, that was fucking uncommon. And this game, I think the development of it started in '95, '94ish, somewhere around there. And they want to go and do that. I thought that was kind of neat. With this, I mean, fuck, man, one of the cool things that they did say was that they want to go in and kind of redo some shit about Final Fantasy VII. So it's not going to be the same exact thing, just pretty. I really want, I want them to bring back the fucking turn-based combat. I know not everybody likes it, but fuck, man, I want that shit back so much. Oh, Fist, you were mute. You were still mute. You just remuted yourself. There you go.
I would like for that to be the only thing they bring back, quite frankly. The turn-based combat.
Fuck everything else. Barrett Wallace can eat
plot. Yeah, they could make the plot about goddamn Power Rangers for all I care. Just fucking, it might actually have.
If they put the Power Rangers in, I'll be fucking happy. Like, and then CM Punk can go fight them too. That'll be great.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just. Like I said, to me, Final Fantasy VII does jack with a side of shit to me. So okay, I don't realize.
How about this? And this will be an interesting question to ask you. I'm very big into the game, despite the fact I'm well aware of all the game's flaws. I just don't care about them because I'm like, fuck it, it's still a good game. But for them to be able to coax you into being interested in playing through the entirety of the game, what would they have to do to that to actually get a naysayer?
Okay, here's the thing. I think if you were able to explore Midgar more, actually go, because here's the thing that I always hated about Final Fantasy VII. There are brief moments where the game opens up a little, and then it constricts again, and you get stuck on the fucking rails again. That was always my problem with. That's my problem generally with most JRPGs. And I'm a fan of Breath of Fire. It's not that I don't appreciate a linear RPG. But I think what they would have to do is make Midgar more of a character and allow you to go wherever the fuck you want. Yeah. And then you could progress the plot at your own leisure. I think that would be cool. It doesn't need to be an open world game per se. You could just have different zones, but be able to go to them at will. The thing that I hated the most about Final Fantasy VII, well, one of many things that I hated about Final Fantasy VII, was the fact that you had this kind of cool world. Like, I'm a huge fan of Blade Runner. I had just gotten into Blade Runner where I played Final Fantasy VII for the first time, and I was like, oh shit, this is familiar. And I was like, well, and I got this kind of cyberpunk game that I'm playing. I played Blade Runner, the PC game, and I played Final Fantasy VII around the same time, and it was like, in Blade Runner, you could go wherever the fuck you wanted, to any sector you wanted, and do whatever you wanted any time. And then this fucking PlayStation game that's being praised to the moon and back, I can go where the game wants me to. You know what I mean? It would need to be a little more of an exploration, because to me, Midgar is the centerpiece of the game. In my opinion, the game began, plot-wise, to fall apart after you left Midgar, and it was considerably less interesting after that point. yeah, it's cool that it's open world and you could fly around. That's great, just like the other Final Fantasy games. But for me, it was much cooler when you were actually in Midgar. And I think for most people, that's still kind of the star of the game. So I would like to focus more on that, less on the outside world, and I would like for Midgar to be more open and more of a character, I guess.
I can definitely agree. I would like to see that a shit ton more. Because one of the things that I like about RPGs, including many JRPGs, even Final Fantasy VII, many JRPGs out there, is being able to adventure about on my own, and then go and continue the story whenever I want. If they fleshed this out, like in Crisis Core, they did some of that. Actually, there was go and do your own missions and all this other shit, and you actually got to go into Midgar. You got to see areas within it, and you got to see it from a different perspective because it's on much better hardware. And it was really cool. I was like, wow, that'd be so awesome if they, I don't know, remade the game and started to focus on shit like that. I hope that they take all the shit that they have right now and then blow it up.
And, like, plot-wise, seriously, still the biggest fucking plot hole in my mind in Final Fantasy VII is the entire Eris situation where we're supposed to give a shit about a girl we met earlier that day. Like he's fucking bawling over the corpse of a chick he just met. Like, in terms of actual movement of time, you just met this bitch.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to care. And a lot of people obviously did. I don't know, probably because cutscenes were novel and they had the sappy music over top, and it was kind of like, okay, cue the crying. I think if you go back and visit that scene, it's a lot harder to care in 2015 about Eris dying, and not least of which because you already know about it.
I was in middle school when that game came out, and I cheered because I fucking hated her, and I liked Tifa way more.
Yeah,
Tifa was awesome.
I never understood why you're supposed to love Eris so much when all she can do is yak about her fucking ex-boyfriend the entire goddamn time. Hey, Cloud, could you go buy me a dress? Hey, Cloud, could you go walk me down the street? Hey, Cloud, could you wipe my ass for me? Could you buy me some tampons? Like, what the why do I care about Eris?
Oh, no, what she really needs to ask Cloud and just break the fourth wall and be like, hey, Cloud, can you just drag me along in battle and get me to level 99? Because I'm not going to be around much longer, and I'm not fucking useful at all. Like, whatsoever, because my limit breaks, you can do that with all the materia. So anybody can go and take my job. I'm useless. Literally. Useless. Yeah. God, she sucked.
I never quite understood why Tifa is supposed to be like the girl next door appeal. Like, look at Tifa. Look at her. She's the girl next door to the porn set. That's what she is. Stop trying to tell me she's the girl next door.
Dude, that's where I want to live next door to. That'd be awesome. Like, if it was just churning that shit, that'd be fucking fantastic. But I honestly found her character more interesting and still do because it's you have somebody that Cloud grew up with. You have somebody that is like a fucking tomboy. Somebody who's actually kind of a fucking badass and matters more, literally, to the fucking main character. And then you have dumb fucking Aerith, and that always fucking bothers Shemi. It was Aerith whenever we first played it. But yeah, she fucking sucks. So Tifa, all the way, Team Tifa. Hashtag.
Team Tifa.
Oh, and by the way, I wonder if they're I remember in some of the cutscenes, like the one fucking Tifa's falling, and all it is fucking tits in the screen for 5 fucking minutes, and then you got to see her connected to them. Like, oh, there's a person there, past all the fucking boobage. I wonder if they're gonna do that. Fucking Anita Sarkeesian will be all over that shit. Her and her fucking goddamn 5-pound nose.
Oh, they better not. Here's what I hope they don't do. I hope they don't dress them up like the fucking Advent Children versions of the characters, because those redesigns suck so hard.
If you looked in the trailer for it, they totally had like the old designs. Just, you know, they looked much nicer, obviously, because it's fucking 2015, not 1997. But I'm glad that they did that. And looking at everything. Oh fuck! I want to mention this. Somebody had pointed out during the trailer that in the background they have, like, you know, tons of advertisements and shit. There's a big fucking wall banner for Parasite Eve.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's awesome. The downside, it's for 3rd birthday. So then my asshole prolapses, and I cave in on myself, again, like a dying star, because Third Birthday is not a Parasite Eve game. Anybody who thinks it is, no, never, never.
I thought that was interesting. That was the moment where I felt like, maybe this is an old trailer.
Well, they said that last year they started working on it, but I mean, when the fuck did Third Birthday even come out?
Third Birthday was years ago, man. That was like... Was that 2009, 2008? I mean, I could look it up or something, but it was a while ago.
Yeah, it was... dude, okay.
You're certain, if it's not current when you're making this cutscene, I don't think you want to draw attention to Third Birthday, because it went up like a fart in church.
It did.
Like,
It was...
That game did not sell, and he likes it.
Even the pastor stops in the middle of him doing his thing, and then he fucking gives you the fucking stink face, just like motherfucker. But it's one of the stink eye, stink face. That's for Kishi. But anyway, he could do
give
that.
You the stink face too.
Yeah, but I really just want them to fucking knock it out of the park with it, because the game, love it or hate it, is important to gaming. You know, and it's a big fucking deal. I just want it to be what I've wanted it to be. I've
never contested that Final Fantasy VII is important to gaming, but I think it's important to gaming as a study in the power of advertising in gaming, and I think in a lot of ways, this presentation at Sony, completely upstaging everything else that Sony showed, even without any gameplay or any idea of how they're going to change this game or what it actually qualitatively is going to be, is perfectly carrying that spirit forward.
They're like, by the way, don't worry, we haven't lost a step. We know what we're doing, and and one of the best fucking things, I want to see if I can pull up the image in real time here, because I thought it was probably one of the most hilarious things, was at the announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake happening at 10:30 a.m., the Square Enix stock went up 3.24%. I'm talking like it quintupled even, in total, the minute that was announced. That right there is fucking badass. And I said, the minute that they even bring that shit up, you just name drop that shit, and it's take our money. Just take all.
Look, here, let's be honest, Alpha. Even if that turns out to be a terrible remake, even if it's so bad you wind up hating it, if it winds up being. If it winds up being every Final Fantasy game of the last 10 years, it's still going to sell like shitloads of copies. It's not going to matter. So it's a safe bet. Yeah, Square Enix, no matter what happens here, is going to be printing money. I mean, pause, think about it. Dirge of Cerberus was one of the best-selling games on PS2.
And that, oh god, that game still, it fucking kills me even today. So much potential, and wow, that was a fucking cloud right out the fucking ass. No pun
Dirge
intended.
of Cerberus, one of the best-selling games on PS. That right there, to me, beyond being a portent of the fucking apocalypse, is proof that you can put the Final Fantasy VII logo on anything and it will sell. And Advent Children, fucking Dirge of Cerberus, Chocobo Racing, anything.
I actually like that. That was a good kart racing game. I got to be a fucking black mage, and I'm all like, thunder! And those motherfuckers got jacked up, and it was great. But the game, and it was funny because everybody had rumored this. I'm talking like the day of E3, and this shit was going down. All these websites started reporting that, and during the Sony press conference, they start talking about Final Fantasy, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, even me, I'm Sinner, I'm fucking clenched butt cheeks, pressed up against the screen." They're like, "Worlds of Final Fantasy Worlds," and I could not give a fuck less. I don't know how to give less fucks. I'd have to take goddamn night classes on how to give less fucks about that poor game. Will I try it? More than likely. But I was waiting for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. They showed that poor thing. I feel bad for it. I feel like somebody kicked the shit out of it and took its lunch money. And then they were like, "Oh, by the way, here you go." And the minute that the word remake showed up on screen, and my cat walked in front of the camera, the minute that remake showed up on screen, and it was like, boom. I swear they probably had an ambulance parked outside to carry away all the fucking people that fainted as if the fucking Beatles were playing, and fucking bitches were just like panties everywhere. Take them. Wow.
Yeah. It's just
fucking
like
awesome.
it was in that moment, and I don't think anybody's going to argue this. It was in that moment where it went from, oh, it's another E3, to everyone in unison, best ever, 20 out of 10, woodwank again. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, that's, and to me, one announcement, especially when it's a remake, and especially when you didn't see gameplay, and especially when it's being made by Square Enix, who just fucked up Thief 4, who released a bunch of footage, frankly, of Deus Ex 4 that concerns me a lot, and who just made Deus Ex The Fall, which sucks ass, and, oh, hey, by the way, Final Fantasy 13 and all of its sequels, and the original launch of Final Fantasy 14. A lot of people are playing Final Fantasy 14 now, the remake. I don't know how it is. I haven't played it. I'm not going to judge. But, you know, the launch was not good. Square Enix, bottom line, has made a career in the last 15 years out of taking old properties, much like Final Fantasy VII, and sticking their cocks so far down their fucking throat they feel a draft. All right? That is what Square Enix does in 2015. So to me, that's not enough of a reason. Like, that's not enough of a reason to get giddy. Like, what are people slamming here? Video game buttons or fucking peyote buttons, as far as I'm concerned. It's not... It's one game. It does not take a conference from another E3 to best E3, in my opinion. Just my opinion.
Mr. Chaos.
I'm so glad to know that you guys had opinions. Who would have thought? I mean, it's just an
I know.
incredible idea.
Are you sure?
I know, but what's interesting though is not only that, but you know, there was also some trolling along the bottom, which I thought was interesting. In that a one-time well-respected developer, Mr. Yu Suzuki, shows up and decides that he wants to tell everybody about Shenmue 3, which got a huge response from like 1,100 people, which are all the people who bought it on the fucking Dreamcast, and tells us that there's going to be Shenmue 3, but it's a Kickstarter. And interestingly,
there's still people who don't even realize there's a Shenmue 2.
Yeah, there is.
There's still people who never even heard of the goddamn Dreamcast. And as I was bringing to Alpha Omega Sin, who wanted to tell me what important, and I don't want to discount what he said, but wanted to tell me what an important thing it was that Shenmue 3 was coming out. It's like, Shenmue is a game that sold poorly on the fucking Dreamcast. I want to make sure that that's known, first of all. Nobody bought the Dreamcast, which means that negative nobody bought Shenmue. And then it came out on the Xbox, the original Xbox One, and again, no one cared. And then, somehow, it met its funding, which is what Kickstarter does, and then Sony, who kept this a fucking secret the entire time, said, oh, by the way, we're helping out with this Shenmue thing. And
they're not helping out, they literally just let them walk on stage. Sony isn't behind it. Sony didn't organize it. They were just like, hey, we need another big announcement. Oh, somebody's doing a Kickstarter for Shenmue 3. It'll be like we're making the game. So here you go. Like, and that was the entire Sony press conference was, oh, hey, these guys are making a game, and it's eventually going to be on our console, I'm sure. So it's like, it's not exclusive, but it'll be on our console. And that was pretty much the Sony press conference from beginning to end, basically.
Well, not to mention they spent like a nanosecond on the PlayStation Vita. Don't remember that? The PlayStation Vita logo, 3 games. Anyway, we're doing other things.
Well, the thing that made me sad was them talking about PlayStation View and dedicating any time to that at all. Like, did you not learn from the fucking Microsoft press conference when they talked about TV to maybe not talk about this kind of shit? Because guess what? Everybody's got a fucking PS4 already, has seen that fucking goddamn thing because it's been in beta forever. Everybody already fucking knows about it. Anybody who went onto the PlayStation store, we're talking about over fucking 20 million people know what the fuck it is. You didn't need to dedicate any time to it. Focus on games. They're fucking foolish to go and do that. And then the whole Dreamcast thing, but we had talked about this a little bit, for everybody who's listening, we had talked about this a little bit before the podcast. The main thing that I can go and defend Shenmue's legacy on is that while it wasn't as gigantic, it was very niche when it first came out, but it gained shit tons upon shit tons of notoriety and fans since then. It's been 14 years since the sequel. Keep that in mind. 14 years since 2. And whenever that happens, you get cult status. You get a cult following. Plenty of movies bombed whenever they came out, but now everybody fucking loves them over a decade or two later. Same thing with bands. Same thing with TV shows. These things happen. Shenmue is a prime example of a game that it didn't get to blossom whenever it first came out, but can nowadays. And all the curious people, they can go and check it out. But Sega has to be smart enough to put out Shenmue 1 and 2 HD. Port that shit on the PC, PS4, Xbox One, Wii U, doesn't fucking matter. Put that out there. Get people up to date on it. It's asinine not to.
After Shenmue 3 reached its goal in like 5.5 seconds, they're going to, Sega's going to be like, oh, look at that money train going by.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're
going to release
idiots
it.
not to.
They're going to toss a grappling hook.
But to be fair, this is also Sega we're talking about. You can tell them that, hey, I've got a fucking guaranteed pile of money and a bunch of people that want to give you more piles of money behind me, and they're just like, oh yeah? Well, what about another Sonic Boom? And I'm like, shut the fuck up!
Yeah, well, what about more plushie dolls of Sonic? What about Sonic having another romance with a human? How about that? Let's
go and tap into more of the fucking perversions of DeviantArt with another fucking broken-ass release of another fucking game that we honestly do not give a shit whatsoever about. Oh, and we made Sonic Colors, but we won't tell you about that. Sonic Generations, never heard of it, but here's a fuck-up. We'll focus on that one. Yeah, God.
Yeah, because we'd love to have a TV show. Sega, the people that could fuck up a meatloaf.
Yeah, One Car Funeral, sure enough, that turned into some Mad Max-style looking shit. Of course we can fuck it up. It's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah, no kidding. And that's how Sony closed the night. And, I can't say that I was terribly excited about it because I was in the shower for part of it, picking the loose hairs off of my wall, which was infinitely more interesting than what was going on in the PlayStation conference. So, folks, I want to recommend that for you fine people next year. If Sony comes on and you feel a little yawny, go clean your shower. You'll have a great time. Yeah. I want to make sure that you know that. And then
you can grow a beard and pretend you're Billy May.
But then you'll die. So these are things that we have to deal with. And then the next morning, the prodigal son rose, and Nintendo showed what they'd been hiding all this time, and everyone intentionally pissed the bed and said, "Fuck this shit! How dare you bring out games? I don't like them!" And now I'm going to go to change.org and demand that you stop making these games. If you didn't know, the fine people at Nintendo, they started off with a really strong base. They started with Star Fox Zero. I shouldn't neglect to mention that they did model their conference after HR Puppenstuff and the Muppets. I shouldn't neglect that.
Man, dude.
If you grew up when I did, HR Puppenstuff and the Ron and Nancy show was fucking hilarious. Go check that shit. You have Google. Go look that shit up. That shit is funny.
Star Fox Zero. The end. I'm playing it. End of goddamn story. And unlike virtually everything Sony showed this year, I can actually play it sometime before I reach retirement age.
Oh, dude. Best fucking thing, I haven't even posted the fucking video because it's still sitting in fucking Adobe Premiere. I fucking got to do a rant on there, but every motherfucker after seeing that shit was like, "Oh my god, Star Fox Zero looks horrible. Do you see the graphics? Looks like Nintendo 60." I cannot drop enough fucking cock down your throat to shut these fucking idiots the fuck up. Because I'm like, wait a minute, this game doesn't look bad and it looks fucking fun. You wanted a Star Fox game, they deliver it. You wanted something that played like the old ones, incorporate shit from Star Fox 2, and you're still bitching.
Yeah, you wanted one with the cockpit view. I mean, that was on my wish list. Boom, they did it with the fucking Wii controller. That's brilliant. And you know what? Look, I'm gonna go a step further. Fuck everyone being snarky about the puppets. Like, puppets rule. Don't even be full of, like, what are the only hand puppets we're allowed to see at E3 hosting the Game Failers live stream? Is that the fucking rule? They're fucking puppets. Calm down. It's Star Fox. It rules. Do you not own a physical copy of the SNES
They
version
clearly
of the
don't,
original
because
Star
it
Fox?
would not be a surprise if they did.
Yeah, they had puppets on the cover of the game box on Super Nintendo. Blow me.
Yeah, and by the way, the fucking puppet for Star Fox is the most angry-looking puppet, even more so than Bert.
He looks
Okay?
pissed.
And Bert is always pissed off looking. Okay, people are like, Oscar the Grouch? No, have you seen Bert? That's a fucking rape face, man. He will fuck you up. But for Star Fox, man...
Well, don't forget, wait a minute. Don't forget, Oscar the Grouch lives by himself. Bert has to live with Ernie.
Yeah, and Ernie's a fucking handful, and there's definitely going to be some weird perverted jokes made after that. So.
Okay, so Chaos, I'm going to throw it to you, because I have to ask, given the somewhat middling reactions to the conference, to say the least, what did you personally think of the conference? Because obviously after the savage anal fisting they gave Microsoft and Sony last year, it would be impossible to follow that performance. But how did you think they performed in the overall?
As far as the digital event, I thought it was a perfectly acceptable event. If you have to take into account that there were games that we already knew about, but let's not pretend that didn't happen with every goddamn press conference we had before that. It did lack the big, because, see, here's the thing. Here's something that I've noticed in the entire time that I've been an internet personality. You people have been led to believe by Apple that there needs to be a big fucking main event blitzkrieg at the end of everything. It kind of fizzled at the end because it was Super Mario Maker. Don't get me wrong. Super Mario Maker is going to change lives.
It's cool.
You know,
It is awesome.
and don't think that it won't. I don't know if it's going to sell a lot of Wii U units, but I know that it's going to change game design forever. It's going to get people thinking in that mode again. I thought it was a perfectly acceptable conference. Was it the big flash bang that the industry really needed to get everyone looking at the industry again? No. And that was the really... But listen to this list! Star Fox Zero, a new Star Fox, Legend of Zelda, Triforce Warriors, and I know people were immediately pissed off that Triforce Warriors only had a three-player scheme to it. Triforce, 3, you don't get it? You're not...
Yeah.
Do we have to go through the Roman numerals thing for you fucking people? we had Hyrule Warriors Legends, Hyrule Warriors on the 3DS, Metroid Prime Federation Force. I know what you're gonna say. It's not a real Metroid Prime game. But after the real bomb that was Codename Steam, which is a great game, I've played it, I love it. It did not sell what they expected it to. They really needed to use the Metroid name, and they're setting you up for Metroid Wii U. You don't realize it, and a lot of people say, well, it wasn't Retro making the new Metroid game. Yeah? Well, Retro didn't make Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D on the 3DS. Do you notice a pattern? They're setting you up. They're trying to get all the people, because there's a lot more 3DSs out there than there are Wii U's. Hands down. There's not even a comparison. So if you get those people talking about Metroid, hey, wait a minute, the Wii U, what's that? What's going on over there? So that's why I think there's that.
Dude, you want to know what the big thing that I think everybody's taking the piss out of Nintendo for?
What's that?
It's because they followed up Sony, and Sony had big fucking announcements nobody was expecting. So then it was like, well, Nintendo, if you don't have those big surprise announcements too, your entire conference sucks. And that's,
I think it was too. It was two-fisted, quite frankly. I'm not sure if... I don't think Nintendo showing this year was necessarily weak. I think it's primarily down to the fact that Nintendo wore the entire fucking industry like an oven mitt last year. Like, just rocked everyone. So they simultaneously had to live up to Sony and Microsoft this year, which both companies had very good press conferences, and they had to live up to themselves last year. And they kind of got squashed between them, and that's why everybody's comparing them unfavorably to themselves and to other companies.
I want to say this, though, and there's a lot of people bitching and complaining to me directly, like I work for fucking Nintendo or something, that like it's my goddamn fault that there's no Zelda Wii U this year. It's like, didn't they make wasn't that a big hullabaloo, a big ballyhoo just not too long ago about how the Zelda Wii U will not be shown at E3. But they give you 2 fucking Zelda games in the next 7 months. What more do you people want?
Do you buy this? Because I'm noticing a lot of narrative in fucking video game media, which you always have to take with a grain of bullshit anyways. But I'm noticing a lot of people like almost regarding Wii U as a legacy platform because of the next, piece of technology that's already been announced.
The wildest is yet to come over there.
Yeah, And I'm like, I'm not sure I buy it. I don't think the Wii U is a legacy platform just yet. I think just this year, they had a lot of stuff that they announced last year that they now had to actually show. Really.
Sure.
And that's kind of what I feel like they were mired in. Because if you look at the list of games, it was pretty much shit from last year. You know, it was the new Star Fox game. It was Mario Maker and so forth. They're great games, but most of them were announced last year. At some point, you got to show the damn things. And why wouldn't you show them at E3?
Sure, and not only that is that you're dealing. Don't forget. Now, as I said earlier in the program, that the gaming public has changed. Business is soft right now, regardless of what they want you to fucking believe and keep throwing parties for themselves at E3. Business is soft. And so they need to spread this shit out over the course of a year. There's going to be another Nintendo Direct in like 7 weeks. There's going to be another one because that's just plain what they do. But like I said, listen to this list. You got your Star Fox Zero, Legend of Zelda, Triforce Warriors, Hyrule Warriors Legends, Metroid Prime, I know. Fire Emblem Fates, Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Animal Crossing Home Design. All these games are coming out this fucking holiday. And then, of course, what was supposed to be, and last year, if you look at the narrative of last year, the darlings of last year's E3 was, we're going to make it possible for fucking indies, both Xbox, PC, PlayStation, and Nintendo said, we're going to make it possible for the indies to do, and everyone else has shit on the fucking indies, and no one said a goddamn thing about independent developers this year, but Nintendo ratted off this fucking list of and games you've never heard of, but I assure you, I've already tried most of them myself, and they're great games. Fast Racing Neo, SteamWorld Heist, Runbow, Soul Axiom, Freedom Planet, which is very similar to Knuckles Chaotix. For those of you fans that remember Knuckles Chaotix, that's a great
that's my favorite Sonic game, dude. I love that game.
Absolutely. One called Typo Man, another one called Lovely Planet, which is very similar to Jumping Flash for you way back when in the first PlayStation. And Mutant Super Challenge from the fantastic people over at Renegade Kit. There was an absolute steamrolling of titles being offered up this year. Some of them this summer, most of them before fall. And it wasn't enough.
It was, to me, again, I think Nintendo had a respectable conference because, again, like Microsoft, I think Nintendo and Microsoft actually had a lot of games that they were like, Holiday 2015 coming. They're coming. They're coming this year. It's coming now. Sony was way off in the future. We're gonna have X, Y, and Z, and most of this shit isn't exclusive and isn't made by us. So I not only don't think best E3, I don't think Sony won the fucking day. They had one big announcement, and if you want to get technical about it, Square Enix won the day with that fucking announcement. It wasn't fucking Sony.
Well, I think if you really want to break it down and well, because we haven't talked about Square Enix, well, we kind of have because Square Enix did their own, press conference later on, and why would they pay money to do that again? I don't know. Again, a whole bunch of people making union wages to report on stuff that they've already reported on. Yeah. But something that I want to make interesting is, make clear is, 20 years later, Falco's still a dickhead. I wanted to bring that up.
Yes, as he should be.
As he should be, absolutely. The one that really stood out, though, because I do this sometimes. I find myself yelling at the screen whenever I'm going through the social media and so on because people are dissatisfied because, everyone feels that they're a special little snowflake and these multinational corporations should drop trow and just present directly to them. But what was interesting is I said to myself, there's something for everybody. You might not be, this is not going to be the E3 that's going to bring the general public, the casual audience back to video gaming. That's not going to fucking happen. Those people have their iPads and they don't fucking need this anymore because the iPad also plays movies. But no Devil's Third. Devil's Third, which was really a standout title for Nintendo not too long ago, was not presented. I thought that was weird. I don't know if I'm the only one.
Maybe they hit a development snag. I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking. Because there was talk that they were gonna have it.
The same thing kind of happened to No Man's Sky. Honestly, No Man's Sky was prominently featured at last year quite a bit, and everybody was really stoked about No Man's Sky, and they barely mentioned it this year. And didn't really. I have a feeling some shit's going down with the development of No Man's Sky, and that's probably the case with Devil's Third.
Yeah, and I hope it's not the same because No Man's Sky, I don't want to badmouth the people who are doing No Man's Sky. They seem like very competent developers, but what they showed me looked exactly what I saw 1 year ago.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure it is. I have a feeling it might just be a vertical slice, which is, for people who aren't aware, a vertical slice is like a playable demo that isn't running on actual console hardware, so there's a lot of chicanery going on, basically. It's like a puppet show to give you an idea of what the game is like, but it's not an actual game running on an actual console. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have a feeling they just showed the same fucking vertical slice from last year. They just changed the terrain or something.
And it's a genuine, because it looks like it could be a great game, but I don't know if they're not getting enough money, if they have to eat ramen now because of the way things are going. I don't know. And they won't tell us.
One thing they did have at E3, which didn't get featured and kind of pissed me off because, and I also did a fucking recording about that too, but it looked really cool, is the new Fatal Frame.
Yeah.
That had no press at all. Like that got a nice little pop on Facebook, and that was it.
Dude, it desperately needs it because. And Nintendo's always had the softer image of, being very family friendly. A game like this gives that much needed variety, that edge. People like horror games. Horror games have always been big. Ever since their inception, they just continue to grow, especially with like live streams and Let's Plays and stuff. Fatal Frame looks excellent. It looks every bit as good as the past games, utilizing the Wii U gamepad in a way that was a fucking no-brainer. It's the fucking... You get to use it like this, just like the camera, popping off ghosts left and right. That thing looks awesome. I just wish, again, that and Devil's Third would have been more prominently featured. It would have been nice.
No.
Yeah, because both of them looking like pretty decent games that are going to draw I'm going to do my fingers thing again, the mature aspect, but I'll be honest with you, I'm more excited for Fatal Frame 5 because those games are actually fucking scary.
Yeah,
but Devil's Third is just, it seems like violence for the sake of violence. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why Bayonetta.
Well, it's like the Wii U's version of Mad World.
Hey, you could play Fatal Frame while you're waiting for Silent Hill. Oh wait.
Oh.
Sorry, I just had to fuck everyone over there.
All the sads are felt. Man, that's. You know what's fucked up is that if fucking Konami didn't shit the bed 1,000 times over and then decide to go and fucking treat it as if it's a buffet table, is that they would have been showing that off at E3, bar fucking none. They would have had a showing of him like, oh my god, look at this, oh amazing. Nah, nothing like that. Can't have
Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, have that, and it'll be the last time that they can actually give a shit about it, because from here on out, they'll just be like, I don't know, who around here can make a game? Start working on it. Just make sure you get it out there. There's people at Ubisoft, they know how to do it. Just follow that credo. It'll be great. And ridiculous.
And that was really it. So I think if those two had really been shown something, I think that would have really saved. But we also realize that we're dealing with, and the industry has created these people, a beast that cannot be fed. So that's where a lot of this disappointment, I think, stems from. There's this idea that there should be amazing games coming out every fourth day.
Well, and I think there is a disparity between sometimes companies will give a good show and then have nothing over the next year. And it's like, oh, that was a great show, but I still have nothing to play on my console. And I'm not just talking about Sony here. Microsoft did that for years with the 360. I mean, there was a string of years there where Microsoft was just curb checking everyone at E3. Just constantly, every single year, their press conference was the best. And they had fucking tumbling routines, and there was fucking and Usher. Friggin' homos and unitards doing cartwheels on stage. Like, what is this? Fucking Cirque du Sodomy? What the hell? And they'd be spending prohibitive quantities of money on this bullshit constantly, every single year. And then you'd go home, and you'd still have a 360 that didn't have any exclusive games on it. So it was... I think there is a disparity. I think Nintendo has the right idea, and I think they're moving in the right direction regardless of whether anyone wants to credit them with having a good conference or not. At the end of the day, they're releasing a bunch of games this year, which is a fuck of a lot more than you could say for the competition.
And say what you want, but a lot of people are working in colors and yarn now, so don't tell me that influence is not being felt. And then shortly after, because Nintendo Treehouse has been covering the shit out of the E3 floor. I don't care what you have to say about the conference, they have been knocking it out of the park. 8 hours a day showing off these games. Showing all this stuff, it's fantastic, and I think that they're doing good. And one thing I have to say this. I have my feelings about YouTube and Google. YouTube really flexed their money muscle and showed that they can cover E3 better than anybody can. They had far less interruptions than Twitch. They did very well. Unfortunately, they picked Mr. Clean to officiate over this whole thing, but whatever. That's
and as if the public needs one more reason to not go to game trailers. You know what I
mean? And I think they finally did. They're going to corner this whole thing, and that's what they hope to do. After that was the Square Enix conference, which, as we said, was everything you already saw at the Sony conference, except for Kingdom Hearts 3. And I understand that no one during that conference actually passed away, which is a milestone in and of itself. We can't take that away from them. And
anyone else get the feeling that Sony had a fucking 44 Automag pressed to Square Enix's temple for the duration of E3? Like,
you definitely get that notion.
I'm sorry, what?
You definitely get that notion. It was real like, you're going to make us look good, aren't you?
This year, Square Enix just bent plumb the fuck over and let Sony climb all the way inside their lily-white, jasmine-scented asshole. Like, Kaz Hirai's got a fucking 2-story duplex in there. I mean, I hope Sony paid them well, because when Square finally took the stage for their own conference, they wound up looking, like I said, like a 10-year-old who fucking wanted to tell the teacher the dog ate his homework. They had nothing. They had nothing that they hadn't shown at Sony's press conference. I mean, I hope they made a lot of cash. But if they did pay Square Enix off, I kind of feel like both companies got ripped the fuck off a little bit. Because Square Enix wound up looking like clueless jagoffs, and Sony wound up looking like they don't have any games. Like, they're not making any first-party games, which isn't true. They do have exclusive games.
I'm happy that I got to see Star Ocean footage. Rather.
There is that. There's Star Ocean. We can't. I forgot about that.
Dude, Star Ocean. I'll forever be a fan of it, even whenever we get something like The Last Hope. But Star Ocean 1, 2, 3. Fuck, man, it's just good ass shit right there. And not too often do we get sci-fi RPGs nowadays.
That's true.
And it's nice to see some stuff like that. The Kingdom Hearts 3, I know that you guys could give a fuck less about it. I'm just glad that after all this fucking waiting, after all these goddamn entries into the series, I'm like, just move forward with this fucking story. Give me a third fucking entry. We finally got that. We got to see footage of it, the actual gameplay footage of it. I was pretty happy because it looked like the stages themselves are way bigger. I'm talking like fucking huge. And I was like, dude, that's pretty fucking badass because it's a platforming action RPG. I want to be able to run around and go all over the place. The summons look pretty fucking badass. The magic effects look cool. It just, I don't know, it looked fun. And I was happy to go and see that. I hope it delivers because it's been a long wait and it needs to, big time, and I think it will. Better.
Definitely. And after that, of course, was the PC Gaming Summit, which put everybody to sleep. But as we know, apparently AMD is still in business, so we got that going for you. And folks, that's our fucking time. Thank you very much for joining us on the 4th annual 8-Bit Podcast E3 2015 Damage Report. I am fucking tired. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to remind you guys that don't forget, check out all the information down below. Give us all a sub. Check us out on the Facebook. Check us out on Twitter, on the Miiverse, all that bullshit. You know you want to. You know you love it, and you know you love Nintendo in color. Admit it, and you love yarn. Each and every one of you love yarn. So, I am the Intrepid Yell Chaos. Joining me has been the man, the myth, the legend, Alpha Omega Sin.
Alpha Omega Gun Show, thanks you for stopping by and all the other stuff. I can't wait to go and take a piss. I've been holding it in.
And my man, 8-Bit Podcast Intercontinental Champion, the excellence of elocution, the Razor Fist.
Now, for all you bitches who are always pissing and whining about us not having the old school, gigantic 3-hour 8-Bit Podcast episodes, yeah, watch this one and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you very much. You guys have been great. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. We'll see you next time right here on the world's most dangerous podcast, the 8-Bit Podcast. You guys are great. We'll see you next time. Rah!